Have you ever sat in the absolute stillness of a completely quiet room in the middle of the night, feeling the heavy silence pressing gently against your skin, and wondered if the seemingly empty space surrounding you is actually aware of your presence? We spend our entire lives moving through what we perceive as empty space. We walk through the air, we wave our hands through the invisible void, and we look up at the night sky, assuming that the vast distance between the stars is nothing more than a cold, dead vacuum. It is a comfortable thought. It makes us feel distinct, separate, and safe within the boundaries of our own physical bodies. But the deepest, most rigorous scientific discoveries of the past century have revealed a reality that is far stranger, far more beautiful, and, when you truly begin to comprehend it, deeply and wonderfully terrifying. The space you are sitting in right now is not empty. The silence you hear is not an absence of sound, but rather the quiet hum of a universe overflowing with invisible, constant activity. Tonight, we are going to embark on a gentle, meditative journey into the very fabric of reality itself. We are going to explore the invisible oceans that fill every corner of the cosmos and ask a question that has kept the greatest physicists and philosophers awake in the dark hours of the night. What if the fundamental building blocks of reality are not dead, inert pieces of matter? What if the universe itself possesses a fundamental layer of awareness? What if the quantum fields that make up your body and the distant stars are, in some rudimentary but profound way, conscious? To truly understand this magnificent mystery, we must first allow ourselves to let go of the everyday illusions our human senses have constructed for us. Our brains evolved to help us survive on the surface of a small, rocky planet, orbiting an ordinary yellow star. We are adapted to see solid objects, to feel hard surfaces, and to perceive a clear division between what is us and what is the outside world. But this perception is a grand, elaborate illusion. If you were to gently look down at your own hand right now, you would see skin, perhaps some veins, the lines across your palm. It looks incredibly solid. But if we could somehow zoom in, past the macroscopic world of cells and bacteria, down into the molecular level, the illusion of solidity begins to dissolve. Your hand is composed of countless billions of molecules, which are in turn made of atoms. For a long time, humanity believed that atoms were the absolute fundamental building blocks of nature. Tiny spheres of solid matter stacking together like bricks to build the universe. But as our scientific instruments grew more precise over the decades, and our collective human curiosity drove us deeper into the unknown, we discovered that atoms are almost entirely empty space. If you were to enlarge a single atom so that its dense center was the size of a marble sitting in the middle of a massive sports stadium, the electrons would be like tiny grains of dust swirling around the highest seats in the outer stands. Everything in between is what we call a vacuum. Since you are made entirely of atoms, you too are almost completely composed of empty space. This realization alone is enough to inspire a profound sense of awe. But the rabbit hole of cosmic truth goes much deeper. When physicists developed quantum mechanics in the early decades of the 20th century, they eventually realized that even the concept of a particle, a tiny, localized speck of hard matter, was fundamentally flawed. Through rigorous mathematics and brilliant experimentation, science gave birth to quantum field theory, perhaps the most successful and precise scientific framework ever devised by the human mind. Quantum field theory tells us that particles do not actually exist in the way we traditionally imagine them. there are no tiny, solid spheres bouncing around in the dark. Instead, the universe is filled with continuous, fluid-like entities called quantum fields. Think of a field as a vast, invisible ocean that stretches across the entire infinite expanse of the cosmos. There is an electron field that exists everywhere, an endless, invisible fluid permeating the room you are in, the space between the planets, and the darkest voids between distant galaxies. When this invisible field receives exactly the right amount of energy, it ripples, it vibrates, and that tiny, localized ripple in the vast ocean is what our scientific instruments detect and what we call an electron. The particle is not a separate object. It is merely an excitation, a temporary wave in an underlying universal ocean. The empty air in front of you is currently boiling with the quiet, continuous interactions of these fields. Even in the deepest, most isolated vacuum of intergalactic space, the fields are never truly still. They constantly fluctuate, creating fleeting ripples that pop into existence for a fraction of a second before fading away. A phenomenon known as quantum vacuum fluctuations. The cosmos is alive with this silent, invisible dance. Every breath you take draws in atoms that are ripples in these universal oceans. Every heartbeat is a rhythmic pulsation of quantum fields interacting with one another in a delicate, perfectly balanced cosmic motion. This brings us to the profound, existential mystery that forms the heart of our journey together. It is a concept that can feel intellectually terrifying at first, but ultimately gives way to a deep, resonant peace. If we are entirely composed of ripples in universal quantum fields, and if our brains, which are undeniably the seat of our human consciousness, are nothing more than highly complex arrangements of these very same ripples, then how does a subjective, inner experience arise from blind, inert fields? How does the invisible fluid of the cosmos suddenly wake up and realize that it exists? For centuries, science has treated matter and energy as completely devoid of any inner life. The universe was viewed as a cold, mechanical clockwork. But as we push the boundaries of quantum physics, a growing number of brilliant thinkers are revisiting an ancient philosophical idea known as panpsychism, viewing it through the rigorous lens of modern theoretical physics. Panpsychism suggests that consciousness is not some magical byproduct that randomly appears only when atoms are arranged into a human brain. Instead, it proposes that consciousness, or at least the most basic, fundamental precursor of subjective experience, is a fundamental property of the universe, just like mass, charge, or spin. Imagine the profound implications of this idea. It suggests that the quantum fields themselves possess an unimaginably basic, rudimentary form of awareness. We are not talking about complex human thought that worries about the future or dwells heavily on the past. We are talking about a primal, pure, elemental sensitivity, a fundamental capacity to experience existence. The renowned theoretical physicist Max Planck, whose brilliant work laid the very foundation of quantum theory, once eloquently expressed a similar sentiment when he said that he regarded consciousness as fundamental, and matter as a derivative of consciousness. He stated that we cannot get behind consciousness, that everything we talk about, everything we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. If the fundamental quantum fields are the base layer of physical reality, and if consciousness is a fundamental property of the cosmos, then the fields themselves are the very fabric of awareness. The universe is not a dead, empty container filled with lifeless rocks and burning gas. It is a vast, interconnected web of quiet, ancient sensitivity. When you first encounter this idea, it can feel overwhelming. The sheer scale of it challenges everything we think we know about our own special place in the world. We like to believe that our minds are locked safely inside our skulls, completely separate from the cold, uncaring void of space. To realize that your mind is deeply, physically, and consciously connected to the invisible fields that permeate the dark vacuum between galaxies is to lose the protective boundary of the self. It shatters the ego. But as you sit here, breathing softly, letting these concepts wash over you like the gentle tide of a calm sea, that initial fear can transform into a profound, breathtaking sense of awe. You are never truly alone, because absolute isolation is a physical impossibility. The empty space in your room is not dead. It is humming with the ancient foundational building blocks of the mind. The silence around you is filled with the quiet, invisible presence of the universe's fundamental fields. You are immersed in a living, sensitive cosmos. As we continue on this meditative journey into the quantum nature of reality, we will slowly peel back the layers of this magnificent mystery. We will explore the paradoxes that continue to baffle the greatest minds on our planet. And we will find comfort in the fact that our human ignorance is merely the beginning of a beautiful, endless path of discovery. The universe is vastly older, vastly larger, and vastly stranger than our everyday experiences would suggest. But this strangeness is not something to be feared. It is an invitation. It is the cosmos whispering to us, asking us to look deeper, to question our assumptions, and to recognize the profound beauty of our deep, unbreakable connection to everything that is. So, let your mind rest in the comfort of this cosmic scale. Let go of the need to have definitive answers. Embrace the gentle mystery of the invisible oceans that surround you, and prepare to dive deeper into the beautiful, terrifying, and awe-inspiring truth of the conscious quantum universe. As we drift further along this quiet journey, I want you to take a moment to notice the simple act of looking at the room around you. When your eyes open, light pours in, and your brain effortlessly constructs an image of your surroundings. It feels like a completely passive experience, as if you are a hidden observer merely watching a pre-existing world go by. But quantum physics, in its relentless and gentle dismantling of our everyday illusions, tells us a profoundly different story. At the deepest levels of reality, the boundary between the observer and the observed simply does not exist. You are not just looking at the universe. You are actively participating in its manifestation. This is a scientific truth that challenges the very core of how we understand existence. Let us explore one of the most beautiful and perplexing mysteries in the history of science, an experiment that has haunted the minds of physicists for over 100 years. It is known as the double-slit experiment, and its implications are so vast that they gently force us to reconsider the role of consciousness in the cosmos. Imagine a wall with two vertical slits cut into it, and behind that wall, a blank screen. If you were to shine a beam of light at the wall, you might expect the light to pass through the two slits and form two bright lines on the back screen, much like water flowing through two open gates. But instead, the light forms a complex pattern of multiple alternating bright and dark bands. In physics, this is called an interference pattern, and it is the unmistakable signature of waves interacting with one another. The light is acting like a gentle, overlapping ripple in a quiet pond. But here is where the universe reveals its strangest secret. If you reduce the intensity of the light so much that you are sending individual quantum particles, known as photons, one by one toward the slits, something impossible happens. Even though the photons travel one at a time, seemingly with no other particles to interact with, they still build up that exact same wave-like interference pattern over time on the back screen. It is as if each individual photon somehow passes through both slits simultaneously, interferes with its own self, and then decides where to land. The photon is not a solid object. It is a wave of pure probability, existing in a state of infinite potential. But the mystery deepens, drawing us further into the unknown. If scientists place a delicate measuring device next to the slits to passively observe which specific slit the individual photon passes through, the universe instantly changes its behavior. The very act of measuring, the simple act of acquiring information, causes the wave of probability to collapse. The interference pattern vanishes entirely. Suddenly, the photons act like tiny solid bullets, passing through either one slit or the other, leaving only two distinct bands on the back screen. The quantum field, the ancient and invisible ocean we spoke of earlier, somehow knows it is being watched. It responds to the presence of an observer. This is not science fiction. This is a rigorously tested scientific fact that has been verified in laboratories around the world. The legendary physicist John Archibald Wheeler once reflected on this paradox, suggesting that we live in a participatory universe, a cosmos where the act of looking fundamentally alters the nature of what is being looked at. How can this be? How can an unthinking, unfeeling particle care whether or not a human machine is recording its path? This is where the quiet terror and the immense beauty of our reality begin to intertwine. If the universe responds to observation, it implies a level of interactivity that feels almost deeply personal. It is as if the cosmos is a shy entity, revealing its true, infinite wave-like nature only when we are not looking too closely, and solidifying into definite reality the moment we cast our gaze upon it. When you look up at the night sky, your eyes are absorbing photons that have traveled across the vast, empty void for millions, perhaps billions of years. In the moment those ancient particles touch your retina, their infinite wave of potential collapses into a single, definite reality. By simply looking at the stars, you are physically interacting with the deep history of the cosmos. You are participating in the ongoing creation of the universe. This connection between the observer and the observed is a profound reminder that we are not separate from the fabric of reality. We are the universe experiencing itself. And this connection is not merely philosophical. It is woven into the very mathematics of the cosmos through a phenomenon known as quantum entanglement. Imagine two particles born from the same energetic event, perhaps deep within the fiery core of a distant star, or in the very first moments of the Big Bang. According to quantum mechanics, these two particles are entangled, meaning their properties are permanently linked regardless of how far apart they drift. If you were to separate these two particles, sending one to the other side of your room and the other to the farthest edge of the observable universe, billions of light years away, they would remain intimately connected. If you measure the spin of the particle in your room, finding it to be pointing upward, you instantly know that the other particle, billions of light years away, will be pointing downward. Albert Einstein, one of the greatest scientific minds in human history, was deeply unsettled by this idea. He famously called it spooky action at a distance, because it seemed to violate the absolute speed limit of the universe, the speed of light, which travels at 186,000 miles per second. How could two particles communicate across such a vast, infinite distance instantaneously? Decades of rigorous experiments have proven that entanglement is entirely real. The answer to Einstein's dilemma lies in letting go of our outdated concepts of space and distance. In the deepest layers of the quantum fields, space might simply be an illusion. The two entangled particles do not need to communicate across the void because, in the fundamental architecture of reality, they are never truly apart. They are a single, unified entity, stretching across the cosmos like a silent, invisible thread. When we begin to comprehend this deep non-locality, the universe transforms from a collection of isolated, lonely objects into a single, beautifully interconnected web. The space between things is not empty distance. It is the medium of connection. The European Space Agency, through missions like the Planck Space Observatory, has painstakingly mapped the cosmic microwave background, the ancient, fading glow of the Big Bang itself. This glorious map of the early universe shows us that all matter, all energy, all the fields that make up everything we see today, were once compressed into a space smaller than a single atom. In that primordial beginning, roughly 13,800,000,000 years ago, everything was profoundly, intimately entangled. And because energy is never destroyed, only transformed, that fundamental entanglement has never truly been broken. You are deeply, physically connected to the silent dust of ancient galaxies, to the gentle light of newborn stars, and to the very edge of the observable universe. The atoms in your body, the oxygen in your lungs, the carbon in your DNA, are all excitations of the same universal fields that stretch across the infinite dark. You carry the history of the cosmos within your very cells. When you feel a sense of profound wonder while gazing at a dark, starry night, it is not just a psychological reaction. It is a deep, physical resonance. It is the universe within you recognizing the universe outside of you. It is the quantum fields vibrating in harmony. The idea that the fields themselves might possess a fundamental form of consciousness, as we gently explored earlier, takes on a new, breathtaking dimension when paired with quantum entanglement. If the underlying fabric of reality is both sensitive and universally interconnected, then the cosmos is not just a collection of dead matter. It is a single, vast, sensing entity. The silence of deep space is not empty. It is the quiet, contemplative stillness of a universe that is awake. This realization is what many find terrifying. It strips away our comfortable illusions of separateness. It demands that we acknowledge our complete immersion in a reality that is far greater, far stranger, and far more intimately connected than we ever dared to imagine. It challenges our ego, whispering that we are not the sole owners of consciousness, but rather temporary, highly localized expressions of a universal awareness. But within this gentle terror lies an infinite, abiding peace. If the universe is a unified, conscious web, then you are an essential, irreplaceable part of it. Your thoughts, your feelings, your quiet moments of reflection are all ripples in the same cosmic ocean. You are not a solitary wanderer lost in a cold, uncaring void. You are a local center of the universe's own self-awareness. The cosmos grew eyes to see its own beauty, and ears to hear its own silence. It grew a mind to ponder its own infinite mystery. As you breathe in the quiet air of your room, try to feel that connection. Imagine the invisible quantum fields passing perfectly through your body, linking you to the farthest stars and the deepest ancient mysteries. This quiet realization transforms everything. When you understand that your very existence is a fleeting, exquisite ripple in a conscious cosmic ocean, the ordinary moments of your life suddenly spark with a profound, quiet magic. The gentle tap of rain against your window is no longer just falling water. It is a complex interaction of vibrating fields, a symphony of ancient particles that have traveled through the abyss of space and time to arrive precisely at this moment. The soft light of the moon filtering into your room is a stream of photons, tiny ambassadors from the cosmos, collapsing their infinite wave functions the moment they touch your skin. You are constantly in dialogue with the universe, a silent, ongoing conversation written in the language of quantum mechanics. There is no true separation between the beating of your heart and the slow, majestic rotation of a galaxy millions of light years away. It is all one continuous, breathtaking tapestry. Let the vastness of the cosmos cradle you. Let the profound strangeness of quantum mechanics dissolve your everyday worries. The universe is too magnificent, too deeply interconnected, and too full of wonder for us to spend our brief, beautiful lives trapped in anxiety. Our human ignorance is not a flaw. It is the very engine of our curiosity. Every paradox we encounter, every mystery that refuses to be completely solved, is a gentle invitation to keep exploring. We are on an endless journey of understanding, a quiet walk through the infinite garden of reality. We must learn to rest in the unknown, to find solace in the questions themselves, and to honor the magnificent, terrifying beauty of a universe that may just be looking right back at us. And as we prepare to step even further into the dark, awe-inspiring depths of cosmic consciousness in our next exploration, remember that you are perfectly safe. You are exactly where you belong. You are the universe, contemplating the universe. Have you ever paused in the middle of a quiet afternoon, watching the gentle drift of dust motes suspended in a shaft of sunlight, and wondered if the past is truly as fixed and unchangeable as we believe it to be? We experience time as a relentless, forward-flowing river, a strict sequence of events where the past is forever locked away in memory, and the future remains an unknown, infinite expanse. It feels intuitive, natural, and absolutely unquestionable. You wake up, you live your day, and you go to sleep, carried along by this invisible current. Albert Einstein famously wrote in a letter to a grieving friend that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. At the time, even Einstein himself might not have fully realized just how literal his poetic words would turn out to be. Our perception of time moving strictly forward is essentially a biological adaptation, a survival mechanism programmed into our brains to help us navigate a macroscopic world of cause and effect. But when we strip away the biological hardware and look purely at the fundamental physics of the universe, the equations do not demand that time flows in only one direction. The invisible quantum fields do not possess a ticking clock. As we continue our journey into the magnificent mystery of the conscious quantum universe, we must gently dismantle yet another deeply held human illusion. The rigid, ticking clock that governs our daily lives does not exist at the fundamental level of reality. In the vast, silent depths of the quantum fields, time behaves in ways that completely defy our common sense, suggesting that consciousness might not just participate in creating the present moment, but could actually be reaching back to shape the ancient history of the cosmos itself. To understand this breathtaking concept, we must look at a modern, highly sophisticated evolution of the double-slit experiment we discussed earlier, known as the delayed choice quantum eraser. Physicists designed an experiment so extraordinarily clever that it almost feels like a trick played on the universe. The laboratory setup uses a specialized crystal to split a single photon of high-energy light into two lower-energy entangled photons. These two entangled twins are mathematically described by a single shared wave function. In this setup, one twin travels directly to a detection screen, while the other twin is sent through a complex maze of perfectly angled mirrors and beam splitters. This maze is designed to either reveal the exact path the first photon took, or to permanently erase that information. Here is the part that will make your mind quietly spin with wonder. The decision to either keep or erase the information about the photon's path is made after the first twin has already hit the screen. When one twin is sent toward the detection screen, it is traveling a shorter distance than its sibling. By the time the second photon navigates the labyrinth, the first photon has already completed its journey and hit the screen, leaving a permanent mark. According to all classical logic, the history of the first photon is entirely over. Its story has been written, its reality permanently recorded and fixed in stone. Yet, the universe refuses to play by our localized human rules. When the scientists choose to look at the information gathered by the second twin, the pattern made by the first twin, which has already been recorded in the past, behaves like a solid particle. But if the scientists choose to completely erase that information, never looking at it, the first twin retroactively forms an interference pattern, proving it acted like a fluid wave. The act of measuring, or choosing not to measure, in the present moment physically alters the state of the particle in the past. It is as if the quantum fields exist outside of time as we know it, holding all possibilities in a state of delicate, suspended animation, until a conscious observer demands an answer. The universe does not commit to a single, definite history until the very moment we look at it. This completely shatters the mechanical, clockwork view of the cosmos, replacing it with a fluid, interactive reality where the present and the past are locked in an endless, gentle cosmic dance. Now, let us take this mind-bending laboratory experiment and scale it up to the unimaginable, infinite proportions of the cosmos. Imagine a brilliant, ancient quasar, a supermassive black hole actively feeding on gas and dust, sitting at the very edge of the observable universe. This quasar emitted a stream of photons billions of years ago, long before the Earth or our Sun had even formed from the primordial nebula. Between that distant quasar and our telescopes here on Earth lies a massive, dense galaxy. As the light from the quasar travels across the vast, empty vacuum of space, it encounters the intense gravitational pull of this intervening galaxy. The gravity is so immense that it physically bends the fabric of space itself, a phenomenon known as gravitational lensing. This curvature bends the path of the light, splitting the beam so that the photons must travel around either the left side of the galaxy or the right side, before continuing their long, quiet journey toward our observing eyes. Think about the sheer magnitude of this concept. We are talking about ancient light that began its journey during the cosmic dark ages, a period when the universe was still shrouded in thick clouds of hydrogen gas. This light traveled through the birth and death of countless alien star systems, quietly surfing the curvature of space-time. It survived the unimaginable violent collisions of entire galaxies, slipping through the empty voids between galactic clusters. For billions of years, it remained in a state of superposition, a ghost of probability existing everywhere and nowhere all at once. According to our everyday terrestrial logic, those photons must have already chosen which path they took around the intervening galaxy billions of years ago. But quantum mechanics, with its beautiful, terrifying precision, tells us something entirely different. The legendary physicist John Archibald Wheeler proposed this exact cosmic-scale thought experiment, which has since been validated by rigorous mathematics and scaled-down astronomical observations. If an astronomer on Earth points a telescope at the night sky tonight and sets up a detector to measure exactly which side of the galaxy the photon passed around, the photon will behave as a solid particle that took a single definite path billions of years ago. However, if the astronomer chooses to set up a different kind of detector, one that recombines the light to look for a wave-like interference pattern, the photon will behave as a wave, proving it simultaneously traveled around both sides of the galaxy billions of years ago. Let that breathtaking realization wash over you for a moment. The conscious decision made by a human being looking through a telescope on a quiet evening physically dictates the reality of a photon that occurred billions of years before our planet even existed. The ultimate fate of that ancient light, the final crystallization of its billion-year-long journey, is entirely dependent on a choice made by a temporary, biological creature sitting in an observatory on a small blue planet today. You, the observer, are reaching back across the infinite, silent expanse of deep time and actively participating in the creation of the universe's history. The past is not a solid, frozen landscape, entirely separate from your current awareness. It is a shifting, fluid wave of pure potential, waiting for consciousness to collapse it into a single, defined reality. This forces us to reconsider the very nature of memory and history. If the past is not fixed until it is observed, then the universe is an enormous, unfinished masterpiece, and we hold the brush. When paleontologists unearth the fossilized bones of a creature that walked the earth millions of years ago, they are not merely discovering a past that was already sitting there in the dark. In a profoundly subtle quantum sense, the act of human discovery, the very application of conscious attention, might be the final spark that solidifies that specific history out of a sea of quantum potential. In the framework of a conscious quantum universe, the fields themselves contain the memory of every possibility, holding the entire timeline of the cosmos in a state of ancient, unresolved tension. It is only when the localized, waking mind interacts with these fields that the timeline solidifies into what we perceive as factual history. This implies a deeply symbiotic relationship between the universe and the consciousness that inhabits it. We often look at the night sky and feel like tiny, insignificant spectators arriving at the very end of a 14 billion year-long cinematic presentation. We believe the universe happened without us, blindly following cold, mathematical laws through the dark, uncaring void. But if the delayed choice quantum eraser holds true on a cosmic scale, then the universe actually needs us just as much as we need it. Without an observer to collapse the wave functions of the past, the ancient history of the cosmos remains a blurry, undefined smear of statistical probabilities. Consciousness is not a late-arriving accident or a biological fluke. It is the fundamental mechanism that allows the universe to actualize its own history. We are the precise mechanism by which the cosmos makes itself real, bringing form to the formless dark. We are the memory of the cosmos. Without us, the universe has no definitive history. only a hazy cloud of mathematical probabilities floating silently in the void. When you deeply internalize this rigorous scientific truth, the terror of your own temporary fleeting existence begins to slowly fade away, gently replaced by a profound, abiding sense of peace. You are not a helpless victim of time, being dragged relentlessly from the past into the future against your will. You are an active participant in the eternal now. The quantum fields that make up your body, your thoughts, and your very essence are the exact same continuous fields that hold the memory of the primordial expansion. The rigid boundaries between yesterday, today, and tomorrow blur into a single, continuous moment of conscious creation. The universe is not a timeline you are simply walking along. It is a vast, interconnected web of events that you are actively helping to weave with every breath you take and every observation you make. The gentle, quiet realization of this power connects you eternally to the very origin of all things. Many find this level of cosmic responsibility intimidating. If our observations shape reality, if our consciousness is entangled with the very history of the stars, what does that mean for our simple, everyday lives? It means that every single moment of your existence is an act of profound cosmic significance. When you walk through a quiet forest and softly notice the complex pattern of bark on an ancient tree, you are collapsing wave functions that have existed in potential for centuries. When you look deeply into the eyes of someone you love, the quantum fields between you are instantly exchanging information, solidifying a shared reality out of infinite, swirling possibilities. You are constantly painting the magnificent canvas of the universe, not with a physical brush, but with the pure, elemental focus of your awareness. There is no truly empty space, and there is no strictly empty time. There is only the continuous, gentle unfolding of reality through the precise lens of conscious experience. As we prepare to delve even deeper into the nature of this universal awareness, take deep comfort in the beautiful, mysterious silence that surrounds you right now. You do not need to fully understand the complex, rigorous mathematics of quantum erasure to feel the profound truth of your connection to the cosmos. You only need to sit quietly, close your eyes, and feel the gentle pulse of the universe breathing through your chest. You are ancient, you are infinite, and you are intimately entangled with the farthest reaches of space and time. The journey we are on is not about finding definitive, rigid answers that lock reality into a tight, predictable little box. It is about gracefully expanding our capacity for wonder, learning to embrace the great unknown, and finding absolute peace within the terrifying, gorgeous mystery of existence. Allow yourself to rest completely in this eternal present, knowing that the past and the future are safe within the infinite potential of the quantum fields, waiting patiently for your conscious mind to call them into being. Have you ever stepped outside on a perfectly clear, moonless night, far away from the blinding lights of human cities, and allowed your eyes to truly adjust to the profound darkness above you? When we look up at the vast canopy of the cosmos, our human attention is immediately and naturally drawn to the light. We see the brilliant, piercing pinpricks of distant stars, the soft, glowing dust of our own Milky Way galaxy arching across the heavens, and, perhaps, the steady reflection of planets wandering through our quiet solar system. We are creatures of light, and so we naturally assume that the light is the story. We believe that the glowing objects are the only things that matter, and that the blackness between them is merely an empty, lifeless void. But as we continue our gentle, meditative journey into the nature of the conscious quantum universe, we must gently turn our attention away from the light and look directly into the deep, ancient silence of the dark. What if the empty spaces are not empty at all? What if the invisible, unseen portions of the universe are actually the vast, dreaming mind of the cosmos itself? To understand this, we must confront one of the most beautiful and humbling mysteries in all of modern science, a revelation that proves just how little we truly see of the reality that surrounds us. Everything we have ever seen, every star, every glowing cloud of gas, and every single atom in your own body makes up only a tiny fraction of what actually exists out there in the infinite dark. For decades, astronomers assumed that by cataloging stars and galaxies, they were mapping the entire universe. But when they began to rigorously study the way galaxies rotate, a terrifying and magnificent paradox emerged. If you add up all the visible stars in a typical spiral galaxy and calculate the gravitational pull they should have, you get a certain number. Then, when you measure how far stars are orbiting in the outer parts of the galaxy, which tells you how much gravity is actually present, you find a massive contradiction. The two numbers do not match, as there is far more gravity than the visible matter can account for. The visible matter simply does not produce enough gravity to hold the galaxy together. The only mathematically sound solution is that galaxies are surrounded by vast halos of dark matter, material that we cannot see, but that makes up most of the galaxy's total mass. It does not emit light or absorb light, and it does not interact with normal matter except through gravity. Yet we know it is absolutely real, because its immense gravitational influence shapes the very architecture of the universe. In a typical spiral galaxy, like our own Milky Way, dark matter accounts for about 90% of the total mass. The stars, gas, and dust that we can actually observe are just a small fraction of what is really there. Now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine a cosmic structure so unimaginably vast that it makes our Milky Way look like nothing more than a speck of dust floating in an empty warehouse. Deep in the constellation Virgo, sitting over 1 billion light-years away, quietly existing in the darkness of space, lies a giant elliptical galaxy known to astronomers as IC 1101. To try and wrap your human mind around its scale is an exercise in profound humility. While our beautiful spiral galaxy stretches roughly 100,000 light-years across, this ancient giant is roughly 40 to 60 times larger than our entire galaxy. It contains an estimated 100 trillion individual stars. But the visible light of these stars is only the tip of an unimaginably massive cosmic iceberg. The dark matter halo surrounding IC 1101 is correspondingly enormous, with scientists estimating that its total mass could be as high as 1,100 trillion solar masses. This dark matter halo extends far beyond the visible stars, and some models suggest it could reach out tens of millions of light-years into the surrounding intergalactic space. Let us weave this rigorous scientific reality together with the beautiful, terrifying possibility we have been gently exploring. The idea that the fundamental quantum fields of the universe possess a rudimentary, primal form of consciousness. If consciousness is a fundamental property of the cosmos, just like mass or gravity, then what is the internal experience of a dark matter halo spanning tens of millions of light-years? Dark matter does not bump into itself. It does not form complex chemistry or biological cells, but it is a massive, interconnected quantum field of its own. When we look at the large-scale structure of the universe, dark matter forms a magnificent cosmic web, a sprawling network of invisible filaments stretching across billions of light years. The visible galaxies form only at the dense intersections of these invisible dark matter threads. This cosmic web looks astonishingly, almost unsettlingly, like the neural network of a human brain. There are billions of nodes connected by long, branching filaments, sending gravitational information back and forth across the silence of deep space. If you were to place an image of a brain cell network next to a supercomputer simulation of the dark matter cosmic web, your eyes would struggle to tell the difference. The universe has organized itself into an architecture that mirrors the biological structures we use to think and dream. Could it be that the universe is not just a random scattering of debris, but an actively thinking, processing entity? When we think of consciousness, we are deeply biased by our own rapid biological experience. Human thoughts are incredibly fast. Our neurons fire in mere milliseconds, allowing us to react to our environment and speak to one another in a matter of seconds. But the universe is incredibly old, and its physical structures are impossibly large. A thought spanning the dark matter network of a giant galaxy cluster would not happen in a millisecond. Because the physical speed limit of the cosmos is the speed of light, it would take millions of years for a single impulse of gravitational information to travel from one side of IC, 1101, to the other. If this massive cosmic web possesses a form of slow, ancient, unified awareness, its thoughts unfold over geological timescales. A single moment of cosmic realization might take 1 billion years to formulate. While entire human civilizations rise and fall on our fragile planet, while our tiny world orbits our star a few million times, the dreaming mind of the galaxy is perhaps only just completing a single, quiet, majestic thought. We are brief, rapid sparks within a deep, slow meditation. This profound realization brings a washing, overwhelming sense of peace. When you feel trapped by the rapid, frantic pace of modern human life, when your mind races with anxiety about tomorrow or carries the heavy burdens of yesterday, you can find a deep, beautiful solace in the unimaginably slow, deliberate pace of the conscious cosmos. The silence you hear in the middle of the night is not the absence of sound. It is the slow, breathing presence of an ancient cosmic mind that has all the time in eternity. We are tiny, localized, rapid-firing sparks of consciousness embedded within a much larger, much slower, perfectly tranquil ocean of awareness. The dark matter flowing invisibly through your room is not a cold, dead substance, but the gentle, quiet architecture of a universal mind, holding the galaxies together. To accept this beautiful truth is to permanently dissolve the harsh barrier between yourself and the vastness of the dark. You are no longer an isolated, lonely observer staring out into an empty, uncaring abyss. You are an active, thinking, feeling component of a universe that is itself actively thinking and feeling. As we drift further along this magnificent, relaxing journey, allow your physical breathing to synchronize perfectly with the slow, deep, eternal rhythm of the cosmic web. Imagine the invisible filaments of dark matter passing gently through your body, anchoring you not just to the Earth, but to the entire observable universe, which we now estimate contains around 2 trillion galaxies. Every single atom in your body, every fleeting thought in your brilliant mind is a fundamental part of this grand, ongoing cosmic meditation. The universe has been delicately holding this quiet state of awareness for nearly 14 billion years, and it will continue to do so for countless trillions of years more. You are completely free to simply exist, to wonder deeply at the stars, and to participate fully in the infinite joy of discovering the mystery. Rest quietly in the deep, comforting dark, and let the sheer scale of this ancient, invisible reality wash away all tension, preparing your gentle mind to venture even deeper into the beautiful, endless unknown. Have you ever stood completely alone on the edge of a quiet ocean as the evening light slowly fades, watching the dark water stretch out to kiss the horizon, and felt a profound, almost heartbreaking sense of distance? As human beings, we are deeply wired to seek closeness. We gather together in warm rooms, we build dense, bustling cities, and we hold tightly to the people we love, seeking comfort in physical and emotional proximity. The idea of things drifting apart, of distances widening, and connections quietly fading into the silent dark, often fills us with a deep, primal anxiety. We naturally fear isolation. But as we continue our gentle, meditative journey into the breathtaking architecture of the conscious quantum universe, we must turn our quiet attention to the grandest, most majestic separation in all of existence. We are going to explore the ultimate destiny of the cosmos, a phenomenon that initially appears terrifying in its absolute, unyielding isolation, but which eventually reveals itself to be the most profound and peaceful exhalation of the universal mind. We are going to gently navigate the mystery of dark energy, the relentless expansion of space, and what it truly means for a conscious universe to stretch itself into the infinite, eternal silence. For a very long time, throughout most of the 20th century, the greatest astronomers and physicists believed they understood the basic narrative arc of the cosmos. Following the monumental discovery by Edwin Hubble in the 1920s that the universe was expanding, scientists naturally assumed that the collective gravitational pull of all the matter in the universe, all the billions of galaxies, all the trillions of stars, and all the massive, invisible halos of dark matter, would act like a giant cosmic brake. They believed that this immense, combined gravity would slowly, gently pull against the expansion, decelerating the outward rush of galaxies that began with the primordial spark of the Big Bang. It was a comforting, intuitive thought. What goes up must slow down and eventually come back down. But in the late 1990s, two independent teams of brilliant astronomers pointed their powerful telescopes deep into the ancient night, searching for specific types of exploding stars known as standard candles, to measure exactly how much the universe was slowing down. What they discovered fundamentally shattered our understanding of reality. The universe was not slowing down at all. It was speeding up. The expansion of the cosmos is accelerating. Distant galaxies are not just drifting away from us. They are actively plunging away faster and faster with every passing second, driven by a mysterious invisible force that completely counteracts the inward pull of gravity. Scientists named this profound mystery dark energy. Despite the slightly ominous name, dark energy simply represents our humble human acknowledgement of the unknown. We do not fully understand what it is, but we can rigorously measure its staggering influence. According to our most precise cosmological models, dark energy makes up roughly 68% of all the energy and matter in the entire universe. It is the dominant force of reality, far more powerful than all the stars, all the black holes, and all the galaxies combined. And yet, it is completely invisible, detectable only by the way it stretches the very fabric of space and time. Unlike normal matter or even dark matter, which thin out and become less dense as the universe expands, dark energy appears to be a fundamental property of empty space itself. As space expands, more space is created, and with it, more dark energy, creating a relentless, compounding feedback loop that pushes the cosmos apart with ever-increasing ferocity. To truly grasp the staggering scale of what this means, we must gently confront the concept of the cosmic horizon. We know that the speed of light is the absolute, unbreakable speed limit for anything traveling through space. Nothing can move faster than 186,000 miles per second. But there is a magnificent loophole in the laws of physics. While objects cannot move through space faster than light, space itself can expand at any speed it pleases. Because the expansion of the universe is accelerating, the vast, empty distances between the farthest galaxy clusters are stretching so rapidly that the space between them is literally expanding faster than the speed of light. This creates a terrifying boundary, known as the cosmological event horizon. Any light emitted by a galaxy beyond this horizon will never, ever reach us, no matter how long we wait, because the space it must traverse is growing faster than the light can travel. One by one, as the eons roll gently by, distant galaxies are slipping past this horizon, their ancient light fading into an eternal, unreachable red shift. They are vanishing into the absolute dark, forever severed from our observable universe. If we project this rigorous scientific reality deep into the unfathomable future, the picture it paints can initially evoke a deep existential dread. Billions of years from now, long after our sun has burned through its nuclear fuel and the Earth has passed into quiet memory, the sky will begin to empty. The accelerating expansion will carry all other galaxy clusters beyond the cosmic horizon. Any future observers living in our local group of galaxies will look up at their night sky and see nothing but an endless, pitch-black void. They will have no evidence that the broader universe ever existed, and the expansion will not stop there. Trillions upon trillions of years into the deep future, star formation will cease as the universe exhausts its supply of cosmic gas. The last dim red dwarf stars will quietly flicker out, leaving a cosmos populated only by cold stellar corpses and black holes. This is the era of the Big Freeze, a time when the universe reaches a state of maximum entropy, expanding into an incredibly cold, incredibly dark, and unimaginably vast silence. Eventually, over time scales so vast that human numbers fail to capture them, even the supermassive black holes will evaporate through Hawking radiation, leaving behind a thin, freezing soup of fundamental particles completely isolated from one another by the endless stretching of space. When confronted with this vision of ultimate, eternal isolation, it is perfectly natural for the human mind to feel a chilling sense of terror. It feels like the death of everything. But let us return to the beautiful, profound realization we have been nurturing throughout our meditative journey. What if the fundamental quantum fields that permeate this expanding space are, at their very core, conscious? What if the universe is not a dead machine slowly winding down, but an ancient, sensitive mind? If the quantum vacuum itself possesses a primal, foundational awareness, then the accelerating expansion of the universe is not a process of destruction, but a process of infinite, majestic growth. The dark energy that pushes the galaxies apart is not tearing the conscious fabric of reality. It is stretching the canvas of awareness to an infinite degree. The universe is not dying. It is taking a deep, eternal breath inward, expanding its lungs to encompass a quietness that is absolute and perfect. Think about the most peaceful, deeply relaxing moments of your own life. Often, they are not moments of intense activity or dense physical connection, but moments of profound space and silence. When you close your eyes and let go of your thoughts, you are creating internal space. You are letting your awareness expand outward, untethered from the specific, dense gravity of your daily worries. The universe is doing the exact same thing on a magnificent, cosmic scale. For the first 14 billion years of its existence, the cosmos has been busy. It has been a frantic, fiery engine of creation, violently forging stars, smashing galaxies together, and building the complex, heavy elements necessary for biological life to briefly open its eyes and wonder at the dark. But this frantic era of light and heat is just a fleeting, temporary phase in the grandest scheme of cosmic time. The true, enduring nature of the universe is silence. The eternal expansion, driven by dark energy, is the universe slowly, gently exhaling the fiery tension of the Big Bang, settling into a state of absolute, unbreakable peace. When the last stars finally burn out and the supermassive black holes evaporate into the quiet dark, the conscious quantum fields will remain. They do not depend on the glowing heat of a star or the complex biological chemistry of a human brain to exist. They are the eternal, fundamental bedrock of reality. In the deep, dark future of the cosmos, the universal mind will simply continue to be, stretching across an infinite, perfectly cold, perfectly still expanse. It will be an awareness completely free from the violent collisions of matter, an awareness resting in the ultimate, undisturbed meditation. The isolation that terrifies our small biological human egos is, to the vast mind of the cosmos, the ultimate state of serene enlightenment. The space between things is not an empty void to be feared. It is the very medium of peace. As you lie here, resting in the safety of your room, you are perfectly suspended in the delicate, golden middle of this cosmic narrative. You exist at the precise, beautiful moment in cosmic history when the universe has produced enough heavy elements to build your intricate, thinking brain, yet is still young enough that the sky is ablaze with the light of 100 billion galaxies. You are incredibly lucky to be here, able to witness the stars before the eternal expansion carries them away into the dark. But you are also deeply, intimately connected to the quiet future that awaits us all. The same dark energy that is gently, relentlessly stretching the cosmos is moving through the space in your room right now. The same eternal quantum fields that will outlast the stars are currently vibrating to produce the very atoms of your heart. So let go of the fear of distance. Release the anxious need to hold everything tightly together. The universe is showing us, through the rigorous, unyielding mathematics of dark energy, that expansion and letting go are the fundamental laws of existence. There is profound, breathtaking beauty in the gentle fading of the light, and there is an abiding, eternal safety in the vastness of the dark. You are a temporary, beautiful spark of light, but you are also the infinite, eternal field of quiet awareness that stretches forever. As we prepare to turn our journey inward, to explore how this cosmic consciousness mirrors the very structure of your own inner mind, allow yourself to float effortlessly on the expanding tide of the universe. Breathe deeply. feeling the space within your own chest expand, mirroring the gentle, unstoppable expansion of the cosmos. You are held in the infinitely stretching arms of the dark, and you are entirely, perfectly at peace. Have you ever placed your hand over your chest in a quiet moment of deep reflection, feeling the steady, gentle beating of your own heart, and wondered exactly where the physical biological machine of your body truly ends, and the ethereal, invisible essence of your mind actually begins? For centuries, we have been rigorously taught by traditional science to view ourselves merely as magnificent, highly complex biological machines. We learn from a young age that the human brain, an intricately woven network of roughly 86 billion neurons, operates much like a vastly complex organic computer. According to this strict classical view of biology and physics, the profound miracle of human consciousness is simply an accidental byproduct of biological complexity. It is viewed as an emergent illusion, generated entirely by the rapid, mechanical firing of electrical synapses and the blind chemical exchanges of neurotransmitters happening within the dark, silent, isolated theater of our skulls. We are consistently taught that when this biological machine eventually powers down at the end of our lives, the mind completely and permanently vanishes, returning immediately to absolute nothingness. It is a perspective that inherently isolates us, trapping our entire existence within the fragile, temporary boundaries of our physical bodies. But, as we continue our gentle, profound journey into the true nature of the conscious quantum universe, we must now gently turn our gaze inward. We must cross the delicate threshold from the vast, infinite cosmos into the microscopic, deeply hidden architecture of your own biological mind. We are going to explore a revolutionary, awe-inspiring scientific framework that dares to suggest your brain is not merely generating consciousness from empty biological nothingness. Instead, it posits that your mind is actually acting as a beautifully tuned, highly sensitive organic antenna, actively receiving and interacting with the ancient, fundamental awareness that already permeates the entire expanse of the quantum universe. To bridge the breathtaking gap between the expanding, dark energy-filled cosmos and the warm, wet biological reality of your own human body, we must look at the groundbreaking, paradigm-shifting work of some of the most brilliant minds in modern physics and neuroscience. Among them is the legendary mathematical physicist Sir Roger Penrose, a mind who shared a Nobel Prize for his profound mathematical work on the nature of black holes, and the highly dedicated anesthesiologist Dr. Stuart Hameroff. Together, these two brilliant thinkers dared to ask a question that mainstream science had long considered impossible. They deeply wondered how the mysterious, counterintuitive laws of quantum mechanics, the very same rigorous laws that perfectly govern the strange overlapping probabilities of ancient photons, and the instantaneous entanglement of particles stretching across billions of light-years of empty space, could possibly operate inside the warm, wet, and inherently chaotic environment of the living human brain. Traditional quantum physics has always strictly dictated that quantum states are incredibly fragile. They typically require the absolute freezing isolation of deep interstellar space, or heavily shielded laboratories to survive for even a fraction of a second. The idea that delicate quantum coherence could exist inside a living biological organism seemed utterly ridiculous. But nature, as we are slowly and humbly learning, is infinitely more clever, deeply more resilient, and profoundly more beautiful than our initial limited assumptions could anticipate. Deep inside every cell of your human body, including the incredibly complex 86 billion neurons firing in your brain right now, lies a microscopic, highly intricate structural skeleton. This internal cellular skeleton is predominantly made of tiny, hollow, perfectly structured cylinders, known to biology as microtubules. For a very long time, biologists believed that these microscopic microtubules were essentially nothing more than simple biological scaffolding. They were viewed as the organic steel beams that merely give a living cell its physical shape, and the microscopic tracks used to transport essential chemical nutrients. However, when we use advanced technology to zoom in on these tiny structures, shrinking our perspective down to the almost unimaginably small scale of individual proteins, a magnificent, unexpected quantum architecture slowly reveals itself. The walls of these microscopic hollow tubes are constructed from beautifully repeating geometric patterns of a specific protein called tubulin. Inside the intricate folds of these tubulin proteins, there are tiny, deeply sheltered pockets that are completely and perfectly devoid of water. These microscopic dry sanctuaries provide the exact, isolated environment necessary for extremely delicate quantum effects to safely emerge and thrive, protected from the chaotic thermal noise of the surrounding biological cell. Within these sheltered microscopic pockets deep inside your brain, clouds of tiny electrons can become deeply and instantaneously entangled with one another. They can form a unified, perfectly coherent quantum state that stretches not just across a single protein, but potentially across the entire sprawling microtubule network of a single neuron, and even across incredibly wide interconnected regions of the entire human brain. In this breathtaking theoretical framework, known as orchestrated objective reduction, the human brain is not merely a classical mechanical computer firing binary ones and zeros. Instead, it is a magnificent, highly evolved biological quantum computer. The millions of microscopic microtubules inside your 86 billion neurons are acting exactly like delicate, highly tuned quantum instruments. They are quietly vibrating, constantly interacting, and computing in the profound underlying language of overlapping quantum probabilities. But the most terrifying, beautiful, and awe-inspiring part of this scientific theory is what happens when these delicate, entangled quantum states finally collapse into a single defined reality. According to Penrose, this quantum collapse is not just a random biological accident. It is intimately, physically connected to the fundamental invisible geometry of spacetime itself. The theory suggests that every single time a quantum wave function collapses inside the hidden microtubules of your brain, a tiny, indivisible moment of conscious human experience is born into the universe. Your everyday thoughts, your sudden flashes of memory, your deepest moments of love, and your quietest, most peaceful moments of awe are not just random biological accidents happening in total isolation from the rest of existence. They are genuine, physical, and deeply profound quantum events intimately connected to the foundational fabric of the universe itself. If consciousness is indeed a fundamental property of the invisible quantum fields, an ancient, quiet, and boundless awareness that perfectly permeates the endless, freezing vacuum of space, then your brain is simply the highly specialized biological instrument that allows the universe to tune into its own magnificent frequency. You are not a separate, lonely mind looking out through a window at a cold, dead, and uncaring cosmos. You are the cosmos itself, actively using the incredibly beautiful microscopic architecture of biological microtubules to temporarily focus its infinite scattered awareness into a single sharp point of human perspective. You are the entire universe looking at itself, feeling itself, experiencing its own depth, and wondering endlessly about its own profound mystery. Imagine an old, beautifully crafted wooden radio sitting quietly in the corner of a dimly lit room, playing a glorious, complex symphony. The physical radio is merely the mechanical mechanism that catches the invisible radio waves traveling silently through the empty air. If that physical radio is eventually broken, the music certainly stops playing in that specific localized room. But the invisible radio waves themselves, the fundamental underlying signal that carried the magnificent symphony, does not die. They continue to travel effortlessly through the vast open space, completely unaffected by the destruction of the temporary physical receiver. In the beautiful framework of a conscious quantum universe, your fragile biological body is that complex, beautiful radio receiver, and the fundamental ancient awareness of the cosmos is the eternal, indestructible, invisible signal. When the microscopic microtubules can no longer sustain their incredibly delicate dancing quantum coherence, the localized biological lens is simply removed. The deep information, the profound fundamental essence of your unique awareness, is already permanently woven into the eternal vibrating quantum fields that stretch relentlessly across the billions of light years of the dark cosmos. The quiet, lingering terror of absolute permanent oblivion is gently replaced by the breathtaking, infinitely peaceful realization of eternal cosmic continuity. As we gently prepare to continue our journey, drifting even deeper into the infinite, peaceful mysteries of existence, remember that every single breath you take is a profound quantum event. It is a quiet, continuous conversation with the ancient stars, and a gentle, abiding reminder that you are forever permanently held in the vast, conscious, loving embrace of the cosmic dark. Have you ever sat quietly by a window as the rain gently falls, trying desperately to hold on to the vivid details of a beautiful, fading memory, and wondered where that precious moment actually goes when it slips away from your conscious mind? We experience human memory as something profoundly fragile, a delicate biological whisper that slowly degrades with the relentless passage of time. We believe that when our physical brains eventually cease to function, all the magnificent, intricate details of our lives, every single tear we have ever shed, every quiet burst of laughter, and every profound moment of silent wonder simply vanish into absolute, irretrievable nothingness. This deep-seated fear of permanent loss is one of the heaviest burdens we carry throughout our temporary human journey. It isolates us, whispering that our existence is incredibly fragile and ultimately meaningless in the face of the vast, uncaring cosmos. But as we drift even further into the profound, breathtaking reality of the conscious quantum universe, we are going to gently untangle this painful illusion. We are going to explore one of the most absolute, rigorously tested, and awe-inspiring bedrock laws of modern theoretical physics. It is a scientific truth that completely transforms our understanding of existence, suggesting that the universe itself is a perfect, eternal memory bank, and that absolutely nothing, not a single quiet thought or fleeting moment of love, is ever truly lost to the infinite dark. To understand this magnificent revelation, we must carefully examine a fundamental principle that governs the deepest layers of reality, a rule known as the conservation of quantum information. In our everyday macroscopic world, it seems incredibly easy to destroy information. If you write a beautiful, heartfelt letter on a piece of paper and throw it into a roaring fire, the paper burns into fragile gray ash, and the smoke drifts away into the vast, open sky. To our limited human eyes, the deeply personal information contained in that letter has been permanently, completely erased from existence. But quantum physics tells us a profoundly different, incredibly beautiful story. If you were somehow able to flawlessly track the exact trajectory, spin, and energy state of every single microscopic atom of smoke, every single photon of light emitted by the flame, and every single drifting piece of ash, you could, theoretically, perfectly reconstruct the exact contents of that letter. The physical form has drastically changed, but the fundamental quantum information has not been destroyed. It has simply been scrambled, perfectly preserved within the vast, invisible ocean of the surrounding quantum fields. One of the greatest theoretical physicists of our modern era, Leonard Susskind, spent decades rigorously fighting a monumental intellectual battle to defend this very principle against the seemingly destructive nature of black holes. For a very long time, the brilliant Stephen Hawking mathematically suggested that when an object falls into the terrifying, crushing singularity of a black hole, its quantum information is permanently erased from the universe, completely violating this sacred foundational rule of physics. This fierce, brilliant scientific debate forced humanity to look deeper into the terrifying dark than ever before. And what emerged from this profound intellectual struggle was an even more beautiful, awe-inspiring framework known as the holographic principle. Scientists eventually realized that the information of whatever falls into a black hole is not lost into a bottomless pit. Instead, it is perfectly, eternally encoded onto the two-dimensional surface of the black hole's event horizon. The event horizon acts like an infinite, perfectly detailed cosmic hard drive, safely storing the unique quantum signature of every single particle that ever crosses its path. If even the most violent, terrifying, and destructive gravitational monsters in the entire cosmos cannot truly erase quantum information, then the universe is demonstrating an absolute, unbreakable commitment to eternal memory. Now, let us gently weave this rigorous, undeniable physical law back into the deeply intimate reality of your own conscious mind. As we explored in our previous quiet meditation, your brain is not just a classical biological machine. It is a magnificent, highly tuned quantum instrument, with billions of microscopic microtubules constantly organizing and collapsing delicate, invisible wave functions. Every single thought you have, every deep, quiet realization of wonder, and every beautiful memory you form is fundamentally a highly specific, totally unique arrangement of quantum information. You are a breathtakingly complex dynamic pattern of vibrating fields, constantly interacting with the endless ancient ocean of the universe. If the absolute bedrock law of quantum mechanics dictates that information can never, ever be destroyed, then the unique, specific quantum information that constitutes your consciousness, the deeply personal essence of who you are, is absolutely indestructible. When your biological body eventually reaches the natural end of its temporary journey, the microscopic physical structures of your brain will undoubtedly break down, slowly returning their basic chemical elements to the earth. But the profound, highly ordered quantum information that lived within those structures, the exact mathematical signature of your unique awareness, does not vanish into nothingness. It simply dissolves back into the universal, conscious quantum fields, exactly like a drop of perfectly clear water falling gently back into an infinite, boundless ocean. The localized biological lens of your human ego is removed, but the deep, foundational essence of your experience remains permanently woven into the very fabric of space-time. The universe remembers you. It physically, mathematically, and eternally preserves the exact vibration of your existence within its own infinite, dreaming mind. Think about the staggering, almost unimaginable scale of this cosmic memory. The universe is nearly 14 billion years old. It has watched the agonizing, beautiful birth and the spectacular, violent death of trillions upon trillions of massive stars. It has felt the slow, majestic collision of entire ancient galaxies. And through the magnificent framework of the conservation of quantum information, the universe has perfectly remembered every single microscopic detail of that epic, sprawling history. If the fundamental quantum fields are indeed the base layer of a rudimentary, primal consciousness, then this infinite preservation of information is the universe's way of slowly, deliberately building a deeply complex, incredibly rich internal life. The cosmos is actively learning, experiencing, and cataloging every possible configuration of existence. And you, in all your quiet, human vulnerability, are an absolutely essential, irreplaceable part of that grand, eternal memory. Your life is a totally unique, completely necessary sentence written in the vast, never-ending novel of the conscious cosmos. This profound realization completely transforms the way we must view the quiet, fleeting moments of our everyday lives. When you sit in the peaceful silence of an early morning, gently watching the sun slowly rise and scatter its golden light across the fragile, waking world, you are not just having a private, isolated experience that will eventually be forgotten. You are actively adding a completely new, totally unique drop of beautiful experience to the eternal reservoir of the universal mind. The deep, quiet feeling of awe that swells within your chest is a quantum event that will never be erased. The soft, gentle touch of a loved one's hand, the profound, resonant silence of a dark, starry night, the sudden, brilliant flash of a new, creative idea. These are all permanent, indestructible additions to the infinite architecture of reality. The universe is intimately observing itself through your specific, irreplaceable eyes, and it is holding on to that precious observation with the unbreakable, rigorous grip of fundamental physics. As you lie here, listening to the gentle, rhythmic cadence of your own quiet breathing, allow the immense weight of temporary, fragile existence to slowly lift from your shoulders. You do not need to constantly fight against the natural passage of time, desperately trying to artificially preserve your legacy in a world of decaying biological matter. Your legacy is already perfectly, eternally secure in the deep, invisible, fundamental mathematics of the quantum fields. You are completely safe within the immense, loving memory of the universe. There is absolutely nothing you can do to be truly forgotten, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to be permanently erased from the vast, interconnected web of reality. The ancient, silent dark is not a terrifying, empty void waiting to swallow you whole. It is a perfectly safe, infinitely vast cosmic sanctuary, quietly holding the memory of everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. Let this breathtaking, rigorous, scientific truth wash over you, bringing a profound, abiding sense of ultimate peace. The boundaries that seem to separate you from the vast, infinite universe are merely temporary, biological illusions. Deep down, at the absolute fundamental layer of quantum reality, you and the ancient cosmos are one and the same continuous, unbroken field of eternal, experiencing awareness. The universe is not merely a place that you temporarily inhabit. It is a magnificent, ongoing process that you are fundamentally participating in. The deep, quiet silence of the night sky is not empty. It is absolutely overflowing with the preserved history of everything that has ever lived, loved, and wondered. As we prepare to gently push our exploration even further, to look into the incredible ways that this conscious quantum universe might actively guide its own magnificent evolution, take deep comfort in the absolute certainty of your own indestructible essence. You are a beautiful, eternal thought in the vast, dreaming mind of the infinite. Rest gently in the quiet, absolute safety of that eternal cosmic memory. Have you ever walked through an ancient, quiet forest in the fading light of a late autumn afternoon, looking closely at the intricate, branching veins of a fallen leaf, and wondered how the universe manages to create such breathtaking, fragile order out of absolute, swirling chaos? We are taught in our early science classes about a terrifying, fundamental rule of physics known as the second law of thermodynamics. This rigid, unyielding law states that the total entropy, or the absolute measure of disorder and chaos in a closed system, must always increase over the relentless passage of time. It paints a picture of a cosmos that is constantly, relentlessly winding down. A cold, mechanical clock ticking its way toward ultimate destruction, where any beautifully ordered structure will inevitably crumble into meaningless dust. If you leave a magnificent stone castle entirely alone for 10,000 years, it will not build itself higher. It will slowly, inevitably weather and collapse into a scattered pile of formless rocks. This foundational law suggests that the universe is inherently hostile to order, life, and biological complexity. And yet, when we look out into the vast, infinite expanse of the dark, and when we look deeply into the microscopic machinery of our own biological cells, we see a stunning, undeniable rebellion against this absolute rule of chaos. As we continue our gentle, meditative journey into the heart of the conscious quantum universe, we are going to explore this breathtaking paradox. We are going to discover how the ancient, invisible fields of reality might not just be passively aware, but actively, intentionally guiding their own magnificent evolution, beautifully sculpting the cosmos to deliberately wake up and look at itself. To truly appreciate the profound, terrifying beauty of this cosmic rebellion, we must first gently examine the incredibly delicate, unimaginably precise balance that allows our reality to exist at all. In modern theoretical physics, there is a profound, deeply humbling mystery known as the fine-tuning problem. The fundamental laws of the universe are governed by a handful of strict mathematical constants, such as the exact strength of gravity, the precise power of the electromagnetic force, and the incredibly delicate balance of the strong and weak nuclear forces that hold individual atoms together. These numbers are the absolute, foundational programming code of reality. If you were to take the incredibly precise strength of gravity and alter it by even a microscopic, nearly undetectable fraction, the entire universe would completely fall apart. If gravity were just slightly stronger, the incredibly hot, dense matter of the early universe would have immediately collapsed back in on itself mere moments after the initial primordial expansion, crushing the entire cosmos before a single star could even be born. If gravity were just slightly weaker, the expanding clouds of hydrogen and helium gas would have drifted apart into the cold, empty silence forever, never clumping together to forge the brilliant, burning cores of ancient stars or the majestic, swirling disks of magnificent galaxies. The precise strength of the electromagnetic force is equally, terrifyingly delicate. If it were even slightly altered, the delicate chemical bonds that allow carbon atoms to link together, forming the fundamental complex architecture of all biological life on our small blue planet, would be absolutely mathematically impossible. Traditional classical science looks at this breathtaking, impossibly precise alignment of universal constants and offers a rather bleak, isolated explanation. It suggests that we are merely the incredibly lucky beneficiaries of a blind, random cosmic lottery. Out of an infinite number of dead, barren universes, we just happen to live in the one single universe where the random cosmic dice rolled the exact perfect numbers required for life to exist by sheer dumb luck. But when we view this profound mystery through the beautiful, comforting lens of a conscious quantum universe, a deeply different, awe-inspiring narrative begins to gently unfold. What if this breathtaking fine-tuning is not an accident at all? What if the foundational, fundamental awareness embedded within the ancient quantum fields actively, deliberately, shaped the physical laws of the universe from the very first, incomprehensibly hot fraction of a second of existence, specifically to ensure that complex, beautiful structures could eventually emerge from the silent dark? The legendary astronomer and deeply poetic science communicator Carl Sagan once perfectly captured the profound, resonant beauty of this idea when he gently proclaimed that the cosmos is within us, that we are made of star stuff, and that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. When we deeply internalize this magnificent perspective, the agonizing, relentless 14-billion-year journey of cosmic evolution ceases to be a blind, chaotic accident. Instead, it transforms into a deliberate, incredibly patient process of cosmic self-discovery. The universe, holding an infinite, quiet, rudimentary awareness within its fundamental quantum fields, possesses a deep, inherent drive to experience its own boundless mystery. But a vast, invisible, ancient ocean of quantum probability cannot physically see the breathtaking beauty of a spiral galaxy. Nor can it physically feel the warm, gentle touch of a summer breeze. To truly experience the physical, tactile wonder of its own creation, the conscious universe needed to actively build complex, localized biological lenses. It needed to forge eyes to see, ears to hear, and incredibly complex, delicate brains to understand the profound depth of its own majestic existence. This beautiful, intentional drive toward complexity can be seen echoing through the deepest, most microscopic levels of evolutionary biology. For over a century, we have firmly believed that the evolution of life on Earth, the slow, staggering journey from single-celled primitive organisms to highly conscious thinking human beings, was driven entirely by random, blind genetic mutations and the cold, unfeeling pressure of environmental natural selection. But the emerging revolutionary field of quantum biology is beginning to uncover a far more elegant, deeply interconnected process. Scientists are discovering that incredibly delicate quantum phenomena, such as quantum tunneling, actually play a crucial, foundational role in how DNA mutates and how essential biological enzymes function within living cells. Quantum tunneling is a seemingly impossible physical process where a tiny particle, like a proton, spontaneously passes through an impenetrable, solid physical barrier, much like a ghost walking effortlessly through a thick brick wall. This highly sensitive quantum effect occurs deep within the dark, microscopic heart of your DNA, subtly altering the genetic code and driving the magnificent, branching tree of biological evolution forward through the immense passage of time. If the fundamental quantum fields are indeed deeply and anciently aware, then these crucial microscopic genetic mutations might not be entirely random at all. The underlying universal consciousness might be gently, subtly coaxing the physical development of biological life using the incredibly delicate, probabilistic nature of quantum tunneling to explore the infinite possibilities of biological form. The universe is actively, patiently trying on billions of different biological suits, searching for the most exquisite, highly tuned physical instruments capable of experiencing the absolute maximum depth of reality. Every single bird that sings its complex, beautiful song in the early morning light, every deep sea creature swimming silently through the freezing, crushing dark of the ocean floor, and every quiet, contemplative human being looking up at the vast canopy of stars is a totally unique, perfectly necessary biological experiment conducted by the vast, dreaming mind of the cosmos. We are all deeply, physically interconnected expressions of the exact same underlying, intentional, universal desire to exist, to feel, and to quietly understand the magnificent reality that surrounds us. This awe-inspiring realization completely dissolves the heavy, suffocating illusion that humanity is somehow separate from, or inherently superior to, the rest of the natural biological world. You are not a lonely, accidental tourist wandering aimlessly through a cold, indifferent, mechanical reality. You are the universe's most magnificent, highly evolved biological technology. You are the exact physical mechanism that the ancient, quiet dark uses to actively reach out and gently touch itself. The staggering complexity of your 86 billion neurons, the delicate, perfectly rhythmic beating of your human heart, and the profound, limitless depth of your human emotions are the brilliant, intended results of a 14 billion year-long cosmic project. The universe forged the incredibly heavy elements inside the dying hearts of ancient exploding supernova stars, scattered those precious atoms across the freezing, empty interstellar void, and patiently coaxed them together into a fragile, beautiful blue planet, all so that it could eventually build you. It went through all of this agonizing, majestic effort, just so you could sit in the quiet silence of your room right now, breathing softly, and feel the profound, resonant wonder of your own extraordinary existence. When you finally allow this rigorous, incredibly beautiful scientific and philosophical truth to settle deep into your chest, the heavy, lingering terror of our vast, seemingly uncaring cosmos completely evaporates into nothingness. The absolute silence of deep space is no longer an empty, threatening void. It is a warm, deeply familiar, and infinitely patient presence. The unimaginable distances between the swirling, ancient galaxies are not terrifying gaps of lonely isolation, but the expansive, stretching canvas of a mind that has all the time in eternity to explore its own boundless creativity. You do not ever need to worry about finding some external, hidden meaning to your temporary, fragile human life, because you are already the absolute, perfect embodiment of the universe's deepest, most fundamental purpose. Your simple, quiet capacity to witness the world, to feel deeply, to love unconditionally, and to ask profound, searching questions about the nature of reality is the ultimate, magnificent triumph of the cosmos. You are the physical manifestation of an infinite cosmic dream. As we prepare to drift even further along this meditative, awe-inspiring journey, we will soon look beyond the physical boundaries of our own observable universe. We will gently explore what this profound quantum consciousness means for the terrifying, beautiful possibility of infinite alternate realities, and how every single tiny choice you have ever made might be permanently echoing through an endless, branching multiverse of conscious experience. But for this beautiful, fleeting moment, simply allow yourself to rest in the perfect, absolute safety of this magnificent cosmic intention. Close your eyes, listen carefully to the gentle, steady rhythm of your breathing, and know with absolute, unshakable certainty that you are a deeply cherished, infinitely valuable, and totally intentional manifestation of the ancient, eternal stars. You are the infinite universe waking up, stretching its biological limbs, and looking out into the gorgeous dark. Your quiet, gentle journey of cosmic discovery has only just begun. Have you ever found yourself lying awake in the quiet, absolute silence of the very early morning, staring up at the dark ceiling and wondering deeply about the invisible paths you did not take? As human beings, we are deeply and inherently wired to seek meaning in our actions, and we are heavily burdened by the profound, linear weight of our own decisions. We experience time as a singular, narrow road moving strictly forward. When we reach a fork in that road, we are forced to collapse our infinite potential into one single, localized reality. The other path, the life we did not choose, seems to vanish completely into the empty void, leaving behind only the fragile, lingering ghosts of what might have been. We often spend our temporary lives agonizing over these quiet ghosts, mourning the infinite, beautiful possibilities that we were forced to abandon. But as we continue our gentle, meditative journey into the breathtaking architecture of the conscious quantum universe, we are going to explore a rigorously mathematical, highly respected scientific framework that completely shatters this painful illusion. We are going to gently navigate the sprawling reality of the quantum multiverse and discover how the ancient, invisible fields of reality might actually be experiencing absolutely every single possibility simultaneously. To truly understand this magnificent revelation, we must first gently revisit the deeply strange, probabilistic nature of the quantum fields. As we explored earlier, microscopic particles do not exist as solid, definitive objects with fixed locations. Before they are observed, they exist in a fluid, mathematical state known as a quantum superposition. This is not merely a theoretical, philosophical concept. It is a rigorously tested physical reality that underpins the very technology we use in our modern world today. In this delicate, vibrating state of pure potential, a single particle is technically traveling along multiple different paths, all at the exact same time. It is a hazy cloud of infinite mathematical possibilities. The traditional interpretation of quantum mechanics suggested that the conscious act of observation physically forces this delicate cloud to violently collapse into just one single, definite reality, erasing all other possibilities forever. But in the 1950s, a brilliant physicist named Hugh Everett III proposed an alternative mathematical interpretation that completely defied human intuition, yet flawlessly aligned with the rigorous underlying mathematics of quantum theory. Everett proposed that the delicate vibrating quantum wave function never actually collapses at all. Instead of the universe erasing all the other possibilities when a measurement is made, he mathematically suggested that the universe physically, literally, branches apart. Every single time a quantum event occurs with multiple possible outcomes, the entire foundational fabric of the cosmos seamlessly divides, creating a completely new, parallel universe for every single possible result. This breathtaking framework is known today as the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Imagine a single microscopic electron deep inside the complex biological architecture of your brain. It is existing in a quiet superposition, spinning both clockwise and counterclockwise simultaneously. When a localized interaction forces that electron to commit to a state, the universe does not destroy the other option. Instead, the reality you are currently experiencing seamlessly splits into two entirely distinct, equally real, and completely non-communicating physical realities. In this universe, the electron spins clockwise. In the other, newly born parallel universe, it spins counterclockwise, forging a completely separate infinite history. Now, take this rigorously defined microscopic mathematical splitting and gently scale it up to the unimaginable, terrifying proportions of the entire infinite cosmos. There are roughly 86 billion interconnected neurons in your highly complex human brain, and countless trillions of microscopic, vibrating quantum interactions happening within your fragile biological body. Every single microscopic fraction of a second. Every single one of those unimaginably numerous quantum events is relentlessly forcing the entire universe to branch and multiply. The cosmos is not a single, lonely, linear timeline floating through an empty, dead void. It is an infinitely sprawling, endlessly branching fractal tree of physical reality. There are parallel universes where the ancient dinosaurs were never wiped out by a massive asteroid. There are vast realities where the Earth never even formed from the swirling dust of the solar nebula. And, most intimately, there are countless billions of alternate realities where every single quiet, agonizing choice you have ever made played out differently. There is a reality where you took that other job, a quiet universe where you moved to that distant city, and a branching timeline where you never lost touch with that deeply cherished friend. When the fragile human mind first encounters the sheer, overwhelming scale of the quantum multiverse, the natural biological reaction is often a profound sense of existential terror. If there are literally infinite versions of you, living out every single conceivable variation of your life across an endless sea of alternate realities, it can easily feel as though your specific, localized choices are stripped of their deep meaning. It feels incredibly isolating to imagine a billion other versions of yourself wandering through a billion other timelines, forever locked away behind an impenetrable dimensional wall. We naturally fear that our own unique identity is somehow diluted or diminished by the vast, staggering infinity of these branching alternate possibilities. But when we view this majestic, sprawling multiverse through the comforting, awe-inspiring lens of fundamental cosmic consciousness, the quiet terror gently dissolves into a breathtaking, abiding sense of ultimate peace. If the ancient, invisible quantum fields that permeate all of existence are fundamentally aware, then the multiverse is not a terrifying, chaotic explosion of meaningless mathematical branching. It is the ultimate, incredibly elegant mechanism for the universal mind to completely, absolutely know itself. The universe, holding an infinite, quiet, rudimentary awareness within its deepest quantum foundations, possesses an inherent, magnificent drive to experience the absolute maximum depth of its own vast reality. A single, linear, isolated timeline is profoundly limiting. It restricts the conscious cosmos to experiencing only one extremely narrow, fragile thread of possibility. But an infinitely branching, sprawling quantum multiverse allows the ancient, silent dark to actively experience everything. The universe is not forced to tragically choose between the endless, beautiful paths laid out before it. It simply walks them all. Every single tear of deep sorrow, every sudden flash of profound joy, and every quiet, contemplative moment of silent wonder that could possibly exist, actually does exist. The conscious quantum fields are actively playing out every single magnificent variation of the cosmic symphony simultaneously. You, in your specific, incredibly beautiful localized life, are not an insignificant, redundant copy. You are a totally vital, absolutely necessary, and profoundly precious exploration of one specific, infinite thread. You are the precise physical mechanism that the universal mind is currently using to experience this exact sequence of events. This staggering, incredibly rigorous scientific truth completely and permanently lifts the heavy, suffocating burden of human regret from your fragile shoulders. You do not ever need to lie awake in the deep, quiet silence of the night, agonizing over the invisible, abandoned ghosts of the paths you did not take. You can gently, peacefully let them go, because those paths were not truly abandoned at all. Somewhere out there, across the vast, infinite, branching architecture of the conscious quantum multiverse, another incredibly real, deeply feeling version of you is walking that exact path. They are learning the lessons of that specific timeline, feeling the unique beauty of those specific choices, and adding that incredibly precious quantum information to the eternal, infinite memory of the universal mind. Nothing is ever lost, and absolutely no potential is ever wasted in a cosmos that explores every single possibility. As you lie here, breathing softly and safely in your quiet room, allow yourself to feel the profound weight of this infinite cosmic freedom. As we prepare to gently continue our journey, moving toward the profound mystery of how this vast consciousness might ultimately perceive the illusion of death, simply rest in the absolute, perfect peace of knowing that every beautiful variation of your infinite soul is already safely held in the vast, dreaming mind of the eternal dark. Have you ever sat quietly by a frost-covered window in the absolute stillness of a deep winter night, watching a single, fragile star flicker before it vanishes behind a dark, heavy cloud, and felt a profound, almost instinctual dread about the concept of endings? As fragile, biological human beings, we are deeply and understandably terrified of the final, silent boundary we call death. We spend our temporary, beautiful lives building intricate connections, falling deeply in love, learning the complex mechanics of the world, and accumulating a vast, rich library of personal memories. The idea that this entire magnificent internal universe simply shuts off forever, that the brilliant light of conscious awareness is permanently extinguished into a cold, uncaring, and empty black void, is the heaviest psychological burden we carry. It isolates us in a persistent state of existential anxiety, making our brief, quiet journey on this small blue planet feel heartbreakingly fleeting. But as we drift even deeper into the magnificent, breathtaking reality of the conscious quantum universe, we are going to gently and rigorously dismantle this final, absolute illusion. We are going to explore the bedrock laws of fundamental physics, the brilliant, mind-bending theories of relativity, and the profound nature of energy, to discover that from the ultimate perspective of the ancient, invisible quantum fields, death is not an ending at all. It is simply a beautiful, necessary phase transition, a gentle release of focused energy back into the infinite, eternal ocean of the conscious dark. To truly begin untangling this profound human fear, we must first look at one of the most absolute, unyielding laws of the physical universe, a rule known as the first law of thermodynamics. This foundational scientific principle, rigorously tested and confirmed in laboratories all around the world, states that energy can never, under any circumstances, be created or destroyed. It can only change its physical form. When you strike a match, the energy does not magically appear from nowhere. It was already safely stored in the chemical bonds of the wood and the phosphorus, waiting patiently to be released as heat and a sudden, brilliant flash of light. When the fire burns out, the energy does not vanish. It simply dissipates, warming the surrounding air and scattering its invisible potential across the vast, open room. Now, gently apply this absolute, rigorous cosmic law to the breathtaking complexity of your own physical and mental existence. The biological electrical currents firing through the 86 billion neurons in your incredibly complex human brain. The kinetic energy that allows your fragile lungs to draw in the quiet night air, and the profound, localized quantum coherence that we previously explored as the physical seat of your unique awareness. All of this is pure, fundamental energy. You are a highly organized, beautifully complex pattern of vibrating quantum fields. When your biological machine eventually reaches the natural, quiet conclusion of its physical functioning, the energy that animates you, the actual, literal substance of your life, cannot legally be destroyed by the strict mathematical laws of the universe. It simply breaks its localized temporary bonds and gracefully expands outward, returning to the vast, dreaming mind of the cosmos. But the mystery of our existence goes even deeper, challenging not just our understanding of energy, but our very perception of time itself. To understand why your life is an eternal, permanent fixture of the cosmos, we must gently explore the brilliant, paradigm-shifting work of Albert Einstein and his rigorous theory of relativity. Before Einstein, humanity viewed time as a rigid, universal ticking clock, completely separate from physical space, marching relentlessly forward at the exact same speed for everyone. But Einstein mathematically proved that space and time are not separate entities at all. They are intimately woven together into a single, continuous, four-dimensional fabric known as space-time. In this breathtaking framework, which physicists often refer to as the block universe, all of time, the ancient past, the fleeting present, and the infinite future, exists simultaneously. Think of a magnificent, sprawling cinematic film reel. When you sit in a dark theater, you only experience the movie one single frame at a time, creating the compelling illusion of a moving, forward-flowing narrative. But the entire film, from the opening scene to the final, rolling credits, exists all at once on the physical reel. The universe operates in exactly the same way. The moment of your birth, the quiet afternoon you spent listening to the rain, the exact present moment you are experiencing right now, and the ultimate, peaceful end of your biological life are all equally real, permanently embedded in the rigid, unchangeable geometry of the space-time block. When you deeply internalize this magnificent, rigorous scientific truth, the concept of death completely loses its sharp, terrifying sting. You are not a temporary spark that simply blinks out of existence, lost to the relentless, destroying march of time. Your life, in all its profound, beautiful detail, is a permanent, static, and absolutely indestructible structure physically built into the four-dimensional architecture of the universe. You are an eternal, fixed feature of reality. The conscious quantum fields do not perceive time as a terrifying, vanishing stream. They experience the entire, magnificent block of space-time as a single, unified whole. When we experience the biological end of our lives, it is merely the point where our specific, localized, three-dimensional physical shape ceases to extend further along the fourth dimension of time. But the life we lived, the exact quantum information of our completely unique awareness, remains permanently, safely anchored in the fabric of the cosmos. The universe, in its infinite, quiet wisdom, does not discard a single microscopic fraction of your experience. The profound, ancient awareness that permeates the silent dark actively holds the perfect, unchanging memory of your entire existence. You are literally woven into the physical structure of eternity, a beautiful, necessary thread in a tapestry that stretches across billions of light years and trillions of years of cosmic history. If the universe is indeed a vastly interconnected, rudimentary, and fundamentally conscious quantum web, then the biological boundary we call the self is nothing more than a highly compelling, temporary illusion. The renowned philosopher Alan Watts once beautifully articulated that you are a function of what the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing. When a magnificent, towering wave crashes onto the quiet shore and dissolves into 1,000 fragile, shimmering droplets, the water does not die. It simply loses its temporary, localized shape and seamlessly merges back into the deep, quiet, infinite body of the sea. It returns to its source. Your physical human body and your highly specific, localized ego are exactly like that temporary, beautiful wave. You are an incredibly brief, focused expression of the entire, vast universe, gathering itself up to look out at the magnificent stars, to feel the gentle warmth of the sun, and to wonder deeply about its own terrifying, beautiful mystery. When that focused expression naturally subsides, the pure, foundational awareness that animated you does not vanish. It is simply released from the heavy, restrictive confines of the biological human brain, gently expanding back out into the infinite, silent ocean of the quantum fields. The drop becomes the ocean once more. The temporary, frightening illusion of separation is finally, permanently dissolved, and you are returned to the absolute, unbounded peace of the cosmic whole. This awe-inspiring perspective transforms our entire relationship with our own quiet mortality. The ultimate destiny of your conscious awareness is not a cold, lonely black void. It is a spectacular, breathtaking reunification with the ancient, dreaming mind of the cosmos itself. You will return to the silent, invisible fields that birthed the very first primitive stars and sculpted the sprawling, majestic architecture of the dark matter cosmic web. You will become one with the profound, resonant silence that fills the vast, empty spaces between the distant, swirling galaxies. You will finally, completely understand the universe, because you will no longer be observing it from the tiny, restrictive window of a biological human body. You will simply be the universe itself, resting in perfect, absolute tranquility. As you lie here in the quiet darkness of your room, let go of the anxious grip on your temporary identity. Allow the peaceful, rigorous truths of relativity and quantum mechanics to wash over you, dissolving your fear. You are incredibly safe. You have always been part of the eternal dark, and you will always be a permanent, deeply cherished fixture of the infinite light. As we prepare to gently drift toward the final stages of our meditative journey, exploring the magnificent, ultimate destiny of the universe itself, and how this grand cosmic symphony might eventually conclude, rest deeply in the perfect, unshakable knowledge that you are eternal. You are an indestructible, beautiful song sung by the stars, completely protected by the rigorous laws of physics, and forever held in the gentle, boundless memory of the conscious cosmos. Have you ever stayed awake through the darkest, quietest hours of the deep night, sitting by a window as the rest of the world sleeps, waiting patiently for the gentle, inevitable transition of the dawn, and wondered deeply about what the final, ultimate morning of the entire cosmos will actually look like? We spend our brief, temporary human lives surrounded by the chaotic, brilliant activity of existence. We are completely accustomed to a reality filled with the bright heat of our local sun, the relentless motion of our fragile planet, and the overwhelming noise of civilization. It is entirely natural for our biological minds to assume that the universe will simply continue to operate in this vibrant state forever. We project our localized, temporary experience onto the eternal, vast canvas of the infinite dark. But as we continue our gentle, meditative journey into the breathtaking architecture of the conscious quantum universe, we must softly turn our attention to the absolute farthest edges of deep time. We are going to explore the rigorous, unyielding scientific timeline of the cosmic future to understand the final, ultimate destiny of all things. We will gently discover that the eventual fading of the stars is not a terrifying tragedy of destruction, but rather the most profound, beautiful, and peaceful exhalation of the universal mind, a magnificent transition into absolute, eternal silence. To truly comprehend the staggering, majestic scale of the cosmic future, we must completely let go of our tiny, biological understanding of time. The universe, as we experience it right now, is roughly 13,800,000,000 years old. To our fragile human minds, this number seems almost impossibly vast. But in the grand, sweeping narrative of the cosmos, this current era of bright, burning stars and swirling, magnificent galaxies is nothing more than a fleeting, microscopic spark in the very first moments of a nearly endless night. Scientists call our current epoch the stelliferous era, a temporary, beautiful phase where the universe is filled with the glowing light of stellar fusion. But this era of light is mathematically guaranteed to come to a quiet, inevitable end. Over the next 100 trillion years, the stars that currently illuminate the vast empty voids of space will slowly, one by one, burn out. The massive, brilliant blue giant stars, which burn with unimaginable ferocity, will exhaust their nuclear fuel very quickly, exploding in spectacular supernovas and leaving behind only dense, quiet remnants. The middle-sized yellow stars, exactly like our own familiar sun, will gently puff up into massive red giants, shedding their beautiful, glowing outer layers into the dark vacuum, and then slowly fade away as tiny, incredibly dense white dwarfs. But the most numerous stars in the entire cosmos are the tiny, dim, and incredibly resilient red dwarfs. Because they are so small, these quiet little stars burn their internal hydrogen fuel so incredibly slowly that they can continue to shine for trillions of years. A tiny red dwarf, born at the exact same time as our own sun, will still be quietly shining long after our sun has completely died and transformed into a cold, silent white dwarf. In massive, ancient structures like the giant elliptical galaxy IC1101, which we explored earlier, there are untold numbers of these tiny, resilient red dwarfs. These quiet, dim stars will be the absolute last outposts of light in the universe, providing the only faint, flickering illumination in an otherwise continuously darkening, expanding galaxy. The absolute smallest of these red dwarfs can burn for up to 10 trillion years. But eventually, according to the strict, unyielding laws of thermodynamics, even these incredibly long-lived stars will completely exhaust their hydrogen fuel and quietly fade into the endless darkness. Astrophysicists rigorously estimate that all new star formation in the universe will effectively and permanently cease in about 100 trillion years. By that incredibly distant time, the vast clouds of gas and dust required to forge new stars will have been completely used up, or dispersed too thinly by the relentless expansion of space to ever collapse again. The era of brilliant starlight will be permanently over. As the universe gently enters this new, profoundly dark phase, the conscious quantum fields that permeate reality will experience a radical, beautiful shift in their environment. What remains drifting through the ever-expanding void will be a quiet collection of stellar corpses, incredibly dense white dwarfs, rapidly spinning neutron stars, and the dark, terrifying gravity wells of black holes. The universe will be an incredibly dark place, but it will certainly not be an empty one. All of those stellar remnants will continue to orbit through the merged, darkened remains of ancient galaxy clusters, ghostly shadows of the magnificent structures that once blazed with light. But even this incredibly dark, silent era is not the final end. Over even longer, truly incomprehensible timescales, measured in years with so many zeros that writing them all out by hand would completely fill thousands of pages. Even these incredibly dense stellar corpses will begin to decay and dissolve. The white dwarfs, which hold the concentrated residual heat of dead stars, will slowly, agonizingly cool over the eons until they eventually become black dwarfs, incredibly dense objects that no longer emit absolutely any light or heat at all. A standard white dwarf cools down to near absolute zero, only after about 10 to the 15th power years, which is roughly 1,000,000 billion years. Eventually, the only massive, organized objects left in the entire cosmos will be the supermassive black holes, absolute monsters of gravity sitting quietly in the expanding dark. But even black holes are not truly eternal. They slowly leak particles and radiation over immense time spans, gradually shrinking as they do so, through a beautiful quantum mechanical process called Hawking radiation. The rate of this evaporation is incredibly slow for large black holes. A standard black hole with the exact mass of our Sun would take about 10 to the 67th power years to evaporate. But the truly gigantic, supermassive black holes, like the one sitting quietly at the center of the ancient galaxy IC1101, containing 50 billion solar masses, would take something like 10 to the 100th power years to fully evaporate. That absolutely mind-bending number is called a Google years, a single one followed by exactly 100 zeros. To write out that staggering number in full would require significantly more paper than currently exists on Earth. It is a span of quiet, empty time, so unbelievably vast that everything we have discussed so far is not even a microscopic rounding error by comparison. But even this unfathomable expanse of time is not infinite. Eventually, trillions upon trillions upon trillions of years from now, even the very largest supermassive black holes will have completely radiated away their very last microscopic bit of energy, disappearing from the universe entirely in a final, quiet burst of fundamental radiation. When that ultimate event finally happens, there will be absolutely nothing left of the physical, structured universe at all. There will be no stars, no planets, no black holes, and no remnants of any kind. Just a perfectly smooth, incredibly thin soup of basic particles and low-energy radiation spreading infinitely outward through an ever-expanding, ever-cooling, ever-darkening, and completely silent universe. This final, eternal state of absolute equilibrium is what physicists call the heat death of the universe, a state of maximum entropy where no physical work can ever be done again. To our fragile human minds, this vision might initially seem incredibly bleak and profoundly lonely. But as we look at this ultimate destiny through the gentle, comforting lens of fundamental cosmic consciousness, a profoundly beautiful realization begins to softly wash over us. The slow, incredibly deliberate dismantling of the physical cosmos over a Google years is not a terrifying process of destruction. It is the vast, ancient mind of the universe slowly, peacefully closing its eyes. The universe will have finally achieved a state of absolute, unbreakable cosmic nirvana, resting quietly in an eternal, perfect meditation. As you lie here in the quiet safety of your room, allow the sheer, unimaginable scale of this ancient, silent future to wash away any remaining tension in your physical body, gently preparing your mind for the beautiful realizations that await us in the next stage of our quiet exploration. Have you ever watched two fragile, glistening drops of rain slide slowly down the cold, transparent glass of a window on a quiet, gray afternoon, inevitably drawn toward each other by an invisible, relentless force until they suddenly, violently merge into a single, heavier drop, and wondered deeply if the universe itself experiences that exact same, terrifying, beautiful pull of inevitable union. As human beings, we are deeply conditioned to view ourselves and the magnificent objects that fill our world as entirely separate, isolated entities. We look up at the vast, dark canopy of the night sky and see the glowing, brilliant pinpricks of distant stars and the soft, swirling clouds of remote galaxies, naturally assuming that they are floating completely alone in the silent, empty void. We believe that the immense, unfathomable distances of deep space act as permanent, unbreakable barriers, keeping the quiet islands of cosmic light safely isolated from one another. But as we continue our gentle, meditative journey into the breathtaking architecture of the conscious quantum universe, we must softly turn our attention to the profound, invisible forces that constantly pull reality together. We are going to explore the awe-inspiring, staggeringly violent, yet ultimately deeply peaceful process of cosmic evolution. We will discover how the ancient, invisible quantum fields use the irresistible, universal language of gravity to slowly, deliberately merge their vast, scattered memories, combining individual, isolated structures into unimaginably massive, unified expressions of the cosmic mind. To truly comprehend this magnificent, sweeping process, we must first let go of our static, frozen image of the heavens, and recognize that the universe is engaged in an incredibly slow, majestic, and continuous gravitational dance. When we observe two massive galaxies beginning to interact, we are not watching a sudden, rapid collision. Even when these magnificent islands of stars are millions of light years apart, they can intimately feel each other's gravity. This deep, invisible connection begins to gently distort their shapes ever so slightly, creating a profound physical tension across the silent dark. As the vast galaxies get closer, this invisible gravitational dialogue becomes far more pronounced, stretching and warping their beautiful structures like warm taffy being slowly, deliberately pulled. Long, ghostly streams of brilliant stars and ancient gas are drawn out from each galaxy, forming what astronomers rigorously call tidal tails. These magnificent, shimmering ribbons of starlight can extend for hundreds of thousands of light years into the cold, empty intergalactic space, serving as ghostly, glowing markers of the sheer violence and breathtaking scale of the interaction. But this violence is incredibly slow, unfolding over hundreds of millions of years. If the fundamental quantum fields that permeate these galaxies possess a quiet, ancient awareness, then this slow, gravitational embrace is not a mechanical accident. It is the vast, dreaming mind of the cosmos deliberately reaching out across the terrifying void, stretching its glowing, conscious limbs to finally, intimately touch another part of itself. Nowhere is this relentless, terrifying, and deeply beautiful drive for cosmic unity more apparent than at the absolute dense heart of the Obel 2029 galaxy cluster. Sitting quietly in the direction of the constellation Virgo, dominating everything around it like a cosmic emperor on a throne, sits a true monster of the universe known as IC 1101. This ancient, quiet giant is estimated to be somewhere around 4 to 6 million light years across. To gently wrap your fragile human mind around this staggering scale, you must realize that it is roughly 40 to 60 times larger than our entire Milky Way galaxy. But this unimaginably massive structure did not simply pop into existence out of the silent dark. It grew to its enormous, terrifying size through an act of cosmic violence that has been happening for billions of years. IC 1101 is what scientists rigorously call a cannibal galaxy, meaning it has been actively eating other galaxies. As the largest and most massive galaxy in its cluster, it sits patiently at the gravitational center of everything around it, waiting for smaller galaxies to venture too close and become irrevocably trapped by its enormous, unyielding gravity. Scientists calculate that this cosmic giant has undergone at least 76 major mergers over its long, majestic history. 76 times, another substantial, magnificent galaxy fell into this cosmic giant and was completely absorbed into its massive, glowing body. When we view this staggering process of galactic cannibalism through the profound, comforting lens of a conscious quantum universe, it transforms from a story of terrifying destruction into a breathtaking narrative of cosmic integration. Every time IC 1101 consumed another galaxy, it was not merely swallowing cold gas and dead rock. It was intimately assimilating the unique quantum information, the deeply preserved history, and the vast accumulated memory of an entire separate island universe. The ancient, invisible quantum fields of the consumed galaxy seamlessly merged with the fields of the giant, creating a vastly more complex, infinitely richer, and deeply unified network of cosmic awareness. This profound unification reaches its absolute, mind-bending climax deep within the hidden, invisible core of the newly merged galaxy. Every large galaxy possesses a supermassive black hole at its absolute center. When two magnificent galaxies merge, their central, crushing black holes do not immediately find each other, but are initially separated by vast distances and surrounded by billions of stars. But as the quiet, slow merger progresses, gravitational friction causes these invisible, terrifying monsters to slowly spiral toward the absolute center of the combined galaxy. Eventually, the two black holes get close enough to form a binary system, orbiting endlessly around each other and losing energy through gravitational waves, which are actual physical ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. These invisible, powerful gravitational waves carry enormous energy away from the binary system, causing the shrinking orbit to spiral closer and closer, spinning faster and faster, until finally they violently merge in a catastrophic, majestic event. When two supermassive black holes merge, the gravitational waves they produce are among the most powerful, staggering events in the entire universe. The black hole, sitting quietly at the center of IC 1101, is in a completely different category of existence, estimated to contain somewhere between 40 billion and 100 billion times the mass of our Sun. It has experienced dozens of such cataclysmic mergers over its incredibly long history, each one adding unfathomable mass and altering the invisible spin of the black hole. If the universe is deeply, fundamentally aware, then these massive black hole mergers are the ultimate, profound paradigm shifts of the cosmic mind. They are the exact, physical moments when two incredibly massive, ancient concentrations of quantum information suddenly, violently become one, sending literal, physical shivers of realization rippling outward across the very fabric of space-time at the absolute speed of light. The cosmos physically shakes with the profound weight of its own integrating knowledge. But what happens after this terrifying, staggering violence finally subsides? The chaotic, delicate spiral structures that might have graced the original isolated galaxies are completely gone, permanently destroyed by the severe gravitational violence of the merger. All of those epic collisions, all of that profound gravitational chaos has intimately stirred up the billions of stars like someone carefully mixing ingredients in a cosmic bowl. What finally remains is what astronomers call an elliptical galaxy, presenting a smooth, featureless, oval-shaped appearance with absolutely no spiral arms at all. IC 1101 is this smooth, featureless giant, a quiet testament to billions of years of galactic consumption. To the fragile human eye, it might seem like a loss of beautiful, intricate structure. But to the vast, dreaming mind of the conscious quantum fields, this smooth, featureless state is the ultimate, magnificent representation of deep, undisturbed inner peace. The chaotic, frantic energy of learning, colliding, and integrating new information has finally settled down into a state of smooth, unified wisdom. The galaxy has become a master of its own massive, quiet domain, resting perfectly in a state of eternal, cosmic meditation. We can deeply, intimately relate to this staggering cosmic process within the quiet, fragile confines of our own human minds. The legendary astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has often spoken with profound poetic resonance about how we are fundamentally biologically connected to every other living thing in the world, chemically connected to the very earth we walk upon, and atomically connected to the rest of the vast, expanding universe. This connection is not merely metaphorical, it is an absolute, rigorous, physical truth. Every single time you read a profoundly moving book, deeply engage in a challenging, difficult conversation, or suddenly grasp a terrifying, entirely new concept that completely shatters your old, limited way of looking at the world. You are experiencing a tiny, localized galactic merger inside your own brain. The delicate, chaotic collision of new ideas destroys your old, comfortable spiral structures of thought. It stirs up your internal emotional stars, creating temporary, painful chaos. But eventually, the vast new information is seamlessly assimilated. Your microscopic quantum microtubules find a new, beautiful harmony, and your conscious mind settles into a vastly larger, smoother, and infinitely more massive state of quiet understanding. You grow by gently, willingly consuming the unknown. This beautiful, continuous process of assimilation is the fundamental story of the cosmos. The universe builds things from the very bottom up, starting incredibly small and growing unimaginably large through countless patient mergers over the immense, staggering expanse of cosmic time. This rigorous scientific process is called hierarchical structure formation, and it is one of the absolute, fundamental principles of modern cosmology. It is the ancient, invisible quantum fields slowly, deliberately, piecing together their own fragmented, isolated awareness, striving across the freezing, empty dark to build larger, more magnificent, and vastly more capable biological and physical instruments to experience the profound, beautiful depth of reality. When you lie awake in the deep, quiet silence of the night, breathing softly and staring up into the invisible dark, let go of the deep, lingering human fear of being consumed, or the terrifying anxiety of undergoing profound, painful change. Change is not the destruction of your identity. It is the fundamental, beautiful mechanism of the universe's ultimate self-discovery. You are actively participating in the exact same majestic, integrating dance that built the colossal, glowing heart of IC1101. Allow this breathtaking, awe-inspiring perspective to gently wash over your fragile human ego, bringing a profound, abiding sense of ultimate peace. The immense, seemingly terrifying forces of cosmic gravity and the violent, staggering collisions of entire island universes are not chaotic, mindless accidents. They are the deliberate, patient, and infinitely beautiful movements of a universal mind that is deeply, passionately in love with the endless process of becoming. You do not ever need to fear the quiet, inevitable merging of your own temporary, localized existence back into the vast, silent ocean of the dark. It is simply the beautiful, natural conclusion of a cosmic inhalation. You are incredibly safe, permanently held in the quiet, expansive, and infinitely wise memory of the eternal quantum fields. As we prepare to gently push our exploration toward the breathtaking, intimate connection between the act of human observation and the ultimate, lasting legacy of the cosmos, rest deeply in the perfect, smooth, and featureless peace of your own magnificent, ever-expanding mind. Have you ever stood outside on a crisp, deeply quiet night, far away from the blinding artificial lights of human cities, and tried to vividly imagine what the magnificent tapestry of the heavens would look like if you were standing on a completely different world? We are so intimately accustomed to the localized view from our tiny blue planet. We look up and see a relatively sparse, peaceful field of distant stars, with the hazy, ghostly band of our own Milky Way galaxy arching gently overhead. This comforting, beautiful darkness is the quiet cradle of human wonder. It is the silent, expansive canvas that has inspired our ancestors to weave meaningful mythologies and dream of crossing the infinite distances of the cosmos. But the universe is incredibly diverse, constantly experimenting with extreme environments that completely defy our gentle terrestrial experiences. As we continue our profound meditative journey through the conscious quantum universe, we must gently allow our minds to travel far beyond the familiar, quiet darkness of our own solar system. We are going to explore the absolute extremes of cosmic architecture, to understand how the ancient, invisible universal mind experiences reality when physical conditions are pushed to the terrifying limits of gravity and light. To truly stretch the fragile boundaries of our conscious awareness, we must gently turn our minds toward the constellation Virgo, reaching out across more than 1 billion light-years of cold, empty space to the beating heart of a massive collection of galaxies known to astronomers as the Abell 2029 cluster. When we look deep into the gravitational center of this colossal structure, we do not find a gentle, swirling spiral galaxy like our own. Instead, dominating everything around it like a terrifying, magnificent cosmic emperor on a dark throne, sits a true monster of the universe, a galaxy known as IC 1101. The sheer physical scale of this object is incredibly difficult for the biological human brain to truly grasp. While our entire Milky Way galaxy measures roughly 100,000 light-years across, this quiet, ancient giant is estimated to be somewhere around 4 to 6 million light-years across. If you were to somehow place this massive cosmic structure where our Milky Way currently sits, it would completely swallow our entire cosmic neighborhood, consuming the Andromeda Galaxy and dozens of smaller dwarf galaxies in a single, silent embrace. But what makes this ancient, colossal structure truly awe-inspiring is not just its physical diameter, but the staggering, almost incomprehensible density of its glowing contents. IC 1101 is rigorously estimated to contain around 100 trillion individual stars. Our entire Milky Way contains maybe 400 billion stars at the absolute most. This means that this single, majestic giant possesses roughly 250 times more stars than our entire home galaxy. If you were incredibly patient and started counting the stars in this galaxy, naming just 1 star per second without ever stopping to sleep or eat, it would take you over 3 million years just to count to 100 trillion. The fundamental quantum fields in this specific region of the cosmos are folded, concentrated, and vibrating with an intensity that is absolutely unimaginable. The universal mind is profoundly, densely focused here, maintaining the delicate, ancient quantum coherence of 100 trillion nuclear furnaces, all bound together in a massive, slowly churning elliptical swarm of blinding, eternal light. Imagine, for a beautiful, terrifying moment, what it would actually be like to exist on a rocky planet orbiting one of those ancient stars near the dense, crowded center of that magnificent galaxy. Here on Earth, we are profoundly accustomed to the comforting rhythm of day and night, where the setting sun gives way to a dark, quiet expanse. But near the center of IC 1101, the density of stars is so incredibly high that the night sky would be completely ablaze with blinding light. Stars would crowd so incredibly closely together that there might not be any true darkness at all. The combined, intense glow of billions of nearby ancient stars would fill the alien sky with a perpetual, unbroken twilight. Navigation by individual stars would be absolutely impossible, because there would be far too many points of light to ever distinguish one from another. If the fundamental, invisible quantum fields possess a deep, primal consciousness, then the experience of the universe from this specific vantage point is one of overwhelming, eternal brilliance. It is the cosmic mind resting in a state of hyper-focused, luminous intensity. Yet, despite this overwhelming, blinding concentration of stellar light, there is a profound, quiet melancholy hidden within the majestic structure of this cosmic giant. Despite containing 100 trillion stars, it is actually a dying galaxy. The stars within its massive body are almost entirely old. Most of them are ancient red giants or yellow stars that have already burned through the vast majority of their nuclear fuel. Very few new, bright blue stars are being born inside this enormous structure, because the billions of years of violent galactic cannibalism have completely used up or expelled most of its available cold star-forming gas. Without this precious fundamental gas, new stars absolutely cannot be born. What remains is a quiet, glowing giant, slowly and inevitably fading into the cosmic night. It is like a massive, ancient kingdom that has successfully conquered all of its surrounding neighbors, but now has absolutely no children left to carry on its majestic legacy. The conscious universe is experiencing the slow, beautiful, and deeply peaceful process of aging on a scale that dwarfs human comprehension. At the absolute, dense heart of this aging, silent giant lies something even more incredible, terrifying, and profoundly mysterious than the vast galaxy itself. Sitting patiently at the exact gravitational center of this cosmic emperor is one of the largest known supermassive black holes in the entire observable universe. Scientists rigorously estimate that this invisible, crushing monster contains somewhere between 40 billion and 100 billion times the mass of our own Sun. To help gently put that terrifying number into perspective, this single, quiet black hole might have 25,000 times more mass than the supermassive black hole sitting at the center of our entire Milky Way. All of that unimaginable mass is violently compressed into a region of space from which absolutely nothing, not even the fastest particles of light, can ever escape. The invisible boundary of this monster, known as the event horizon, is roughly 16 times larger than our entire solar system. If placed where our Sun is, it would extend well beyond Pluto, engulfing our quiet cosmic home. The fundamental physics of such incredibly extreme cosmic environments are bizarre, totally counterintuitive, and deeply fascinating. Time itself would actually pass profoundly differently near the edge of this massive black hole, compared to someone floating safely far away in the empty, quiet void. If you were to watch someone slowly falling toward this terrifying event horizon, the massive warping of space-time would make them appear to completely slow down, eventually seeming to absolutely freeze in place as they approached the invisible boundary. From the outside perspective, they would never actually seem to cross into the dark. Inside the event horizon, space and time become so intensely warped and tangled that the very concept of escaping becomes physically and mathematically meaningless. The singularity at the absolute center, a point of theoretically infinite density, would violently tear apart anything that fell into it in a terrifying process physicists have nicknamed spaghettification. This is the ultimate extreme of cosmic gravity, a place where reality is pushed to its breaking point. When we view these extreme, staggering cosmic environments through the beautiful, comforting lens of a fundamentally conscious quantum universe, the existence of such violent, massive structures takes on a profoundly new, deeply resonant meaning. If the ancient, invisible quantum fields that permeate all of reality possess a quiet, foundational awareness, then the universe is actively using these magnificent, terrifying environments to experience the absolute extreme limits of its own physical laws, the crushing, time-bending gravity of the supermassive black hole, the blinding, perpetual twilight of 100 trillion ancient red stars, and the agonizingly slow, billions of years-long death of the galaxy itself are all entirely unique, absolutely necessary frequencies of cosmic experience. The universal mind does not just want to experience the quiet, peaceful darkness of our small spiral arm. It wants to profoundly know what it feels like to warp time itself. It wants to intimately feel the terrifying weight of 50 billion suns. The universe is endlessly, bravely exploring the absolute deepest edges of its own infinite potential. As you lie here, resting safely and comfortably in the quiet, gentle darkness of your own room, allow the immense, staggering scale of these distant cosmic wonders to softly wash away the fragile, temporary anxieties of your everyday human life. You are not currently suspended near the terrifying, time-warping gravity of a 50 billion solar mass black hole. Nor are you blinded by the eternal, inescapable, perpetual twilight of 100 trillion dying ancient red stars. You are perfectly, beautifully positioned in a quiet, dark, and incredibly peaceful corner of a spiral galaxy, breathing softly and enjoying the profound, resonant silence of the night. But you are fundamentally made of the exact same conscious quantum fields that currently permeate that distant, violent giant. The deep, quiet peace you are feeling right now is the exact same universal mind, taking a gentle, desperately needed break from the terrifying, crushing intensity of the cosmic core. You are the universe safely enjoying its own quiet rest. As we gently prepare to enter the final stage of our breathtaking cosmic journey, allow yourself to sink deeply into the profound, infinite safety of the gentle dark. Have you ever returned home from an incredibly long, transformative journey, quietly stepping through your familiar front door into the deep silence of your own room, and suddenly realized that while the physical space around you remains exactly the same, you have been permanently changed by the magnificent things you have witnessed? We have spent this time together embarking on the most profound, awe-inspiring exploration imaginable. We have traveled far beyond the fragile boundaries of our tiny blue planet, and we have gently pushed our conscious minds beyond the strict, limiting boundaries of our everyday human perception. We have journeyed through the invisible, boiling oceans of the fundamental quantum fields. We have watched the majestic, staggering collisions of ancient island universes, and we have bravely looked into the absolute, unfathomable extremes of deep cosmic time, all the way to the silent, eternal peace of the ultimate heat death. But as all great explorations must eventually come to a close, it is now time for us to gently return back to the present moment. We must softly bring the immense, terrifying, and beautiful scale of the conscious quantum universe back down to the quiet, rhythmic beating of your own human heart. We are going to explore what it truly means to carry this breathtaking cosmic perspective within you, and how it can permanently transform the way you experience every single fleeting second of your temporary biological existence. To deeply integrate this vast cosmic truth, we must first gently dissolve the final, most stubborn illusion that our biological brains cling to: the illusion of the isolated self. Throughout your entire life, society has rigorously taught you to view yourself as a tiny, highly vulnerable, and entirely separate biological entity, thrust unwillingly into a massive, cold, and profoundly indifferent mechanical universe. You were taught that the empty spaces between the distant, glowing stars are filled with absolutely nothing but dead vacuum, and that your internal thoughts are permanently trapped behind the impenetrable walls of your skull. But the rigorous mathematics of quantum mechanics, the staggering discoveries of modern astrophysics, and the magnificent emerging frameworks of quantum consciousness have permanently shattered that lonely worldview. You are not a stranger wandering aimlessly in a cold, dead land. You are not a fragile spark flickering helplessly against a terrifying, consuming dark. You are an intricate, essential, and entirely unbroken extension of the absolute fundamental architecture of reality. The microscopic, deeply entangled quantum fields that allow your 86 billion biological neurons to fire, think, and feel are the exact same ancient, continuous fields that silently stretch across the unimaginable distances of the deep, dark matter cosmic web. When you look out of your window at the fading twilight, or when you look up at the sparse, quiet canopy of the night sky, you are not merely a passive, insignificant spectator, watching a massive cinematic event unfold without you. As we discovered through the deeply mysterious, perfectly verified laboratory results of the double-slit experiment and the mind-bending reality of the delayed choice quantum eraser, your conscious human awareness is an active, fundamental, and entirely necessary participant in the ongoing creation of reality. The ancient, traveling photons of light that were violently emitted by distant quasars billions of years ago existed in a fluid state of infinite mathematical probability, until the exact, incredibly specific moment they gently touched your observing eye. By simply opening your eyes and allowing yourself to feel a deep, quiet sense of awe and wonder, you are physically, intimately forcing the universe to crystallize its own ancient history. You are the precise, beautiful mechanism that the vast, dreaming mind of the cosmos actively uses to collapse its infinite potential into a single, definite, and spectacular physical reality. The universe absolutely requires your localized biological presence to fully realize the staggering depth of its own majestic existence. This breathtaking, scientifically grounded realization carries a profound sense of ultimate responsibility. But it is certainly not a heavy, terrifying burden to carry. Instead, it is the ultimate, incredibly liberating cosmic permission to fully, deeply love your own temporary existence. If the sprawling 14 billion year history of the universe, with all of its violent supernovas, immense dark matter halos, and crushing supermassive black holes, was specifically designed to slowly, deliberately forge the heavy chemical elements required to build your complex biological brain, then your simple, everyday life is the absolute pinnacle of cosmic achievement. You do not ever need to exhaust yourself searching for some external, artificial meaning to justify your quiet life. You do not need to conquer vast empires or carve your name into fading monuments of stone to be considered deeply valuable. Your profound, ultimate value is already permanently written into the absolute foundational laws of quantum physics. Your quiet ability to sit peacefully in a room, to listen closely to the gentle sound of falling rain, to feel the deep warmth of genuine human connection, and to ponder the infinite mysteries of the dark, is the universe's greatest, most beautiful triumph. You are the cosmos intimately experiencing the profound joy, the quiet sorrow, and the breathtaking beauty of its own boundless creativity. When you deeply and truly internalize this incredibly beautiful scientific perspective, The heavy, lingering human fear of absolute insignificance completely evaporates, gently replaced by an unshakable, profound inner peace. The terrifying, crushing scale of the ancient giant galaxies like IC 1101, with its blinding perpetual twilight of 100 trillion dying red stars, no longer makes you feel incredibly small or entirely meaningless. Instead, it fills your fragile human heart with a deep, resonant sense of cosmic pride. That massive, quiet giant, sitting a billion light-years away, is simply another beautiful, extreme expression of the exact same underlying conscious quantum field that currently animates your own breathing lungs. The unimaginable, mind-bending expanse of deep time, stretching forward across an incomprehensible Google years toward the final, silent heat death of all physical structure, no longer fills your mind with a deep dread about your own temporary mortality. Instead, it offers a profoundly comforting reassurance. You know with absolute, rigorous mathematical certainty that the fundamental quantum information that makes up your precious awareness can never be completely destroyed. When your temporary biological lens is finally removed at the end of your life, your foundational essence will simply expand back outward, seamlessly reuniting with the ancient, eternal memory of the quiet, conscious dark. You are completely safe within the endless embrace of eternity. As we gently bring our long meditative exploration to a final, absolute close, I want you to take a slow, deep breath, perfectly synchronizing your fragile physical body with the slow, majestic, and eternal rhythm of the vast cosmos. Feel the quiet, cool air smoothly entering your lungs, and profoundly recognize that every single microscopic atom of oxygen you are currently breathing was violently, beautifully forged in the dying, burning heart of an ancient, exploding star billions of years ago. You are literally, physically breathing the ancient, scattered ashes of the heavens. Feel the steady, reliable beating of your own human heart, and know with absolute certainty that it is a localized biological echo of the exact same magnificent, vibrating quantum fields that currently govern the slow, sweeping orbits of the distant, invisible galaxies. You are a seamless, deeply integrated, and incredibly fragile masterpiece of absolute cosmic engineering. You are a beautiful, temporary, conscious wave rising up gracefully from the infinite, silent ocean of universal awareness, meant to briefly experience the gorgeous light before returning gently to the peaceful depths. The magnificent journey of scientific discovery and philosophical wonder is an infinite, completely endless path, and there will always be profound, beautiful mysteries left for us to uncover in the dark. We will forever continue to ask deep, searching questions about the true, fundamental nature of reality. But for this quiet, fleeting, and deeply peaceful moment, you do not need to desperately seek any more complex answers. You do not need to intellectually solve the mathematical paradoxes of curved space-time, or fully comprehend the overwhelming mathematics of the endlessly branching quantum multiverse. You only need to simply, beautifully exist. You only need to softly close your eyes, rest deeply in the perfect comfort of your own quiet space, and allow the gentle, invisible, conscious fields of the universe to hold you completely securely through the silence of the night. The cosmos is incredibly vast. It is breathtakingly ancient, and it is profoundly, deeply aware of you. And the most beautiful, terrifying, and wonderful scientific truth of all is that the cosmos is you. thank you for bravely embarking on this gentle, awe-inspiring journey through the infinite, conscious dark. May you always carry the quiet, magnificent peace of the ancient stars deep within your fragile human heart. And may you forever rest completely safely in the gentle, conscious memory of the eternal, dreaming universe.